still have 3 minutes to introduce ourselves? Or is it just, we've got 3 minutes to give Nana an introduction?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Gwym Sewin here. So it's what I'm done. I dungeon you went egnoped kogel and snast every tagno to her a Jebet agnigo. Ayo Udimuno Uji Chelsmakan Kautat Skodon. I have Deputy Grand Chief. Ayo Chetukonka ayo elections. In Jesus, I apisto, I Jeji Wichue, Gahe, Aston Stagnotskam, I Ude I online, Mugunhega, Guy here, Danina, Aksaptiginabitskam. I'm going to new Megot a Pegnugo and Jish, Utai, Gaim Hildishagat, Big Still, Gaispuited, it's Bayat. Egut kaya pegnot up to che gudosha bet the jishkeshed nish magis puit bisum kan egut che pegnot ekwa neujishigaje nishosha bet the jishkeshed big still is puited it's bad this nishos is puited daxed egut che up pegnugo sende ius jis gedugun and det it de ekwa chejindu ichwe ke he have yasten stagnot. So I would like to welcome everyone to this live Q&A for the Deputy Grand Chief of EUSG. We just wanted to inform you as well that advance polls have been open and it's online voting only. So the online voting has opened on Sunday, July 13 at 9 a.m. and will close on Wednesday, July 16 at 2 p.m. So this is online voting only, and it's not in person. So you can go on the CNG page. It's cngelections.ca. That's where you're going to send in your, where you can vote online. However, on Thursday, July 17, there will be polling stations in all the Cree communities from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. Also, we want to inform you that we will be live streaming the results as they come in on Thursday, and we will be in Val-d'Or for the tallying of all the votes as they come in. So for this evening, there are 4 candidates. Just a minute. There are 4 candidates for Deputy Grand Chief: Sammy Salt Blacksmith, Lyndon Spencer, John Henry Wapache, and Robin Gall Sagnash. Egunenji neo ekujibitado yo abitsion chojmakan ka tatskodoga. Egunenji Sammy Salt Blacksmith, Lyndon Spencer, John Henry Wapache, Ekmag Robin Gall Sagnash. I Jewits Chega, Uga no Jishigaje, Jedi Uga Jedi Aston Staunska election day. Skuduka the G Stagnote hem. I had Nishosti Spuito, Daxi de Gucci Pegnot. Get the beta Butanan, who you had Stason, Udemag Val-d'Or, Egden Decho, I had Jim Hidat. I have Skuduka Snaktega, I had a bit beta we call you, I had Stason. Skadauga went here to eat the mick. I have Niga Christine Perwabno. Get Skadau, I had to eat the mick Alex Moses. Egun in here, Nishat, I had Jim Hidatska. Egun Jedi at the Bata Damatska, I had Danje Spuitska. egun he neudishikaje. Exas I skiditsbitagno as nisos I ispuyo. Yemuyabit gaget skidbetagon. So we're live streaming. Also, we're on the radio at 106.5 FM. So each candidate, they had selected a number from 1 to 4. So that's how they are seated on the stage. So the first person is I have Sammy Salt Blacksmith. So he will be starting. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond, whether it be English or Cree. All the questions that I will be asking are going to be in English, but they have that option how they want to respond, whether Cree or English. We wems to gushim doens, mag we inuim doens ga, we at the Nasco Stado, we gets Jamon. Skudik mag chistagnote, Nuka quets Jamon, Skudik the chip mate, who have I yemuabika, nest mago I am sans debitagnots. Kitskitimiagnots, when G ut had a dogga, I eduxen dogga, Jeji go quets my dogga, and you quets Jamon, hey, I go and. We say go quet Simon near go go. Ego you tioga beji smeg I quet Simon. Begom dandano mean stumdano big stages, pretend in you quet Simon cabbage beated segnogo. Nanako haget snagon ca at skadate skadongan can you quet Simon. Wetsu hair governance and self determination, health and well being, housing, education, economic development, land, environment and rights, social issues and justice, culture, language and identity, ekag women's gender and inclusion. There's nine categories. So the first question is going to be for an introduction of each of them. And then there's going to be a closing question too that they will respond to. So 20 is Pjenyo, so 3 minutes each to out. So us 708 is Puyo, it's to be taik. Egunuhe Nistam, welcome gentlemen to the Q&A of the Deputy Grand Chief. So the first person, number 1, will respond. Sammy Salt Blacksmith. Sammy, can you introduce yourself? And if a young person asked one of your close friends what kind of a person and leader you are, how would you hope they describe you? And what does being a good leader mean to you in a way you serve and show up for the people? 3 minutes, yeah.
What you sir? Sammy Salt Blacksmith in Gasson. So I'm Pino team. I go to there. So I'm Pino region. I'm Scoots Morgan in the bin. But no need the match tunes. Niga in Town again. I want to acknowledge the people around here. The youth can't do it, using any. And me more back, Calgary. But you ask mom, say when she's got accent. And but the situation I got swab go and she bus 20 get dom go. But it distribute time. Can I not dom go but unjis. Ja, ik weet niet niet zo am schön moet ik het weet aan die weet ben en maken. Misschien is het wel misschien doet man zo dan moesten die weet aan ja, maar dat ponin. Toen doet man, dat gestaan. Mogen dit aan zo dat wat zijn en aan de moes zijn. Doe je dan. Moet daar nog daar bij James van ja. Wat is het stuk aan de ja, I'm Scoots Maga here, Jimmy. But one jish, the stallant goes there. It's good my gang in you doing. Ik nu is het goed morgen als niet doet. Wat daarom zit ik zo, wat daar staan zit ik niet, maar moet je het niet. Stem zou arbeid doen. Als een jeer screen, je doet maar arbeid doen. Stem uit en dit doe ik dit kijken en dit doet staan nooit. Dit moet mij wat stel iets ik zie nu. Hoe ik die schrijven te doen. Daar wordt het in. En hem zegt gewoon, je moet beginnen. Maar mooi de bieke, maar mooi iets doen. There are generations to come, and we have a strong leadership in Zimbabwe. And we werden daar dan en dit moest meten, wat gaat zijn. Nee, wat gaat zijn. Moet je doen, dat je maar niet man je. Moet je dat boven buur gaat gewoon, je doet man, je deed man een arbeid zijn. Psik de gun, sind diese gaat worden, het is maar zijn niet ja. Naast gewoon dat ik me zeggen, ja ben het moet gooien. Deze nu die is de ben. Naast komt naam zeggen dat ik sneuk. Naast komt nog hem zeggen dat ik ben stuur. Ja gedaan.
Miigwech Sammy Gall Blacksmith. Mino Hegudig, candidate number 2, Robin. Can you introduce yourself? And if a young person asks one of your close friends what kind of a person and leader you are, how would you hope they describe you? And what does being a good leader mean to you in the way you serve and show up for the people? 3 minutes.
Hello. Hello, test 1 2. Okay. Waja Robin Gall Sagnash ni nagden there was one Peter Jan ni shoshin technician. Kunde nega gwedmin ga je witmanga when ni again there was one Peter check out Jan ga the snake out and yan again there here Nanaku ga ji double chan then how and then Tawan Nanaku is double chan and then how we jan sneeze we go elders culture sen public health sen nanakunji we chiwene gan machun te abachan ga ka nega kwetchimun ga but kwetchimun ga dan tangai de ma wanet bet amotet tanaji tanega dis introduce hit kudik wanji ji wab bit they have bit chemet ga mas good big John's got with Mike is I have Chukan Dabitan. I'm always there, Habitian, John Dabitan. I'm always learning, John Moge, John to diagnose, John Dabitan, Snare, I'm always learning Joyo on the job, it's good Mashan Joyo, did you take man, all the different things she found out and then how. I can get determined and done. And I'm always transparent. I'm saying when I do man, I always want to make sure that whoever I'm working for, just you up to go when I do man, just you take go to me. Again, I should big Jones because you with my when you but you the bottom stash when you again I'm always a hard worker and a lot of the years guys Abitian get me sne in the background Davidson. I'm always working for you guys without USG. Nanakun Davidson. Mine asku no one Davidson. Again, public health for the past 3 years. Again, I have when it got kamustado got COVID case and got that. I got we chiwe and get me the train of Hangado and jit contact tracing mission got that. Did we chiwe got now USG can take note developing programs. I hang we chigo public health officers. Say nanakun Davidson then how again that's good with mag when chishka G I wanted to who I am as a person. I was always with my family, in the community Dan. I graduated high school, pre-K, elementary, and then how you seen then Dan. I couldn't get twin nabe school hang. So not nanaku is nagin my experience a snack gal here. I had church makanga that's called a good stand. So I can Robin Gall second ash.
Miigwech, Robin. Minu gada gwen he agnu he candidate number 3. Can you introduce yourself? And if a young person asked one of your close friends what kind of a person and leader you are, how would you hope they describe you? And what does being a good leader mean to you in the way you serve and show up for the people? Chkitit no I and the bedroom sinmagon I best to the mic to betak share on the live stream. Egda?
Okay. Nishtem ga nui skoma chamendo ga beje na chi ga bambian ta de taumno. So ga nui wajama Lyndon Spencer and Sangason. Or the ocean de ismate gap those as bit and no time out I stood in the shims mshtia ga nui chigos ga beje we ga postulad ga uga in daft man ga ayabtion. And auga the over past few years I took a role ga because in daft man ga and you can check out ga was sneeze with some because Dan ismate. Yeah, I then been Queen Youth Council Executive Committee member. And oga my experience ashnish you stank businesses ga we chigang ga this could master asham stin job tens gone the neck I speak goods ga on it. And I know what it takes to build something from ground up ga and I know and like to push ga for a real change and I'm going my parents got to the values of hard work, respect, and to love one another. And those are the values we do and as a candidate as one of the Dutch card guy chose my candidates because that's the job then and yeah, like in housing, it's be good economic opportunities for our Cree people, and we sneeze got to be inclusive. And how can I go puk squat them? It's the next generation, Chash. So what I could, we sneeze them nuts. They belong in leadership, and their voices matter. You know the guy who speak goods, and I believe we could do better as a nation. And I represent a generation, Chash, Nyan. Ready to lead, and not someday, but Chash, it's time. It's time for a new kind, Niganchkits, and one that includes Sneezots and learns from the chain nuts, and that stands with our community members, our community family. And to me, being a good leader means showing up and non-students DMs. Now, what you ain't taking action, and we do them. It means what you ain't dying there, building the trust and making the decisions for the people. If someone to describe me, I'd want them to say, he showed up, he listened, and he followed through. And that's the kind of leader I've been, and that's the kind of leader to go down.
Thank you very much, Lyndon. Minu matsti agunu he I candidate number 4. Agun yabit sketchy gwets chemun. Can you introduce yourself? And if a young person asked one of your close friends what kind of a person and leader you are, how would you hope that they would describe you? And what does being a good leader mean to you in the way you serve and show up for the people? 3 minutes.
Miigwech, Christine. You saying be a tax on it. It's coming, Christine, yeah. Sir Jim, no. Eastam Jadian, modes when what's the name again, G. Chairman do? Did you bet your name got him, sir? So when that's good. A guys book say to get you be at, then they get these be at. That's good. It's a commission at yesterday. magi abich bin hejin hibichke big jagon this seit man yani mushagen gabet snack sianga kaupanadweo ke muska shit skadweo ka shit madweo ke kamam chigodweo sejgo eitis of mad sunit ogun big jagon jem sve dan is gnot mange en is niet stamt so en tiji shitnaich dan en wen en I gan skekem sen en naku yenji dohino kan I gan skodo nesko dan te kehuyo it state agni tiji spedu ich sheda dan ten stuina dat show ye tegni tsugo ogun big jagon nas msti kibal gan noch da hamke state agni tiji shitnaich kunji mchedo henji genji snijojge weskidge ni ndi bedwi david simao snijoj they should that uskid gat chibitga usnijo el pagabut egut keni ga dan gehenim snijo en ga ni ganz gegnot ude yud weichesuri dat ni nistem di ni ganz ken ge uji usnijo do saka is bedwi david simgon they should that jesus me god eshkud gnio open go geni eshkud gnio geni na straight dem go ye bejmam chidoge opagabudo Ogun je die signal meer niga die snakte begoni ganz man. Ega je wants shit to gwen. Muske je it mogo geni. Io tane sprit. Je go je sta kugdo. Do mat sinot magenden sepa big towns. Na nako je go je tane spabu kon dis. Dan je zegt hem hagno je io. Je im hagno do. Je gwes man do. Dan in how je shiga wukstagni je go babu idasko. Ogun Mod niet staan te gaan, die is maar niet meer gericht, die is niet staan. Ook een Scott, die is hier dan met mij, die is wicht man gedaan.
Miigwech John Henry. Ag mag an jiga bete good say here jiga neo I ag jibita dog yo ka bete good say he we he should do she say with magika when jiga we are Ek mag dit jibita ku yo ayo kwet semon hoten how when he nistem jan nas gustat first person to respond will be Robin. And it's going to be on governance and self-determination. Question number 2. Robin, how will you bring together Cree Nation government, education, and health departments to work under one clear plan? And what will you do to make sure they work together and share resources to strengthen our nation?
Miigwech. Agne big to one I gout now USG a gaiti cashna and Mamuichi doik what now USG. Again, I can have Cree Nation government and education and what I not get Kagna health departments. Does you wichi doik am share mamo. I am there shkanot mangani Tkaji Hidunano share. Nanako the dabs nanom share our own things at the anano, but what na how is Kashabatian get Cree help work and me what how Jiwapting and then how we dud manga abatun together is it what to have. Again, like I have big joint at make money and public health officers say we go to yim hado neo Cree Nation government, Cree Trappers Association, Cree Health Board, even the Ministry of Quebec. She nana kun and how it would stay dog away to mamu get the dog yo. Amadako got to go baby hog out now you see or joy the speaker. Again, like the Watmanga, baked on Aska, Didud Mam season hair, Abatunga, say Mamu the Abatik in different ways. Stay I'm in a Abbot's now together. Shega our own plans there, I know, in our each perspective. I had departments and I have our organizations. But I think it's got me also Shega Mamoji Yimhiduikak. Did you cannot make it to one edudakwana? That is we check it with the guana. It's chat double the work it would make. Again, it's got me also did you support or hike it our partners then how it's chat and see surely up sugar Abbot Sagnod muk big when at me gak. She mamu make me share mamu is not one our plans. This plan we get Egen ak ska mi also is snakt ga. Digi yim hidweek was there. Digi can not make than this include like it our strategic planning is nga ga. This na plans to run 5 years sometimes more than that. So asko I'm in at stagnant big when I am hagnot because as some share way be stagnant than edition agnit. So before I took have egot kami also yim hito nanot. At that time, sin anako different years to when I have per organization, but kami also pisa line odoak. It's kami also a line nanot and had those years. It's good mamu jim do. It's come stamps how I am hito nanot, but as good kami also because Nation government, me and Cree school board, Cree help board, and again jim mamu ga we hito do. It's good. It's good jim school stano go yo jim make mamu. Again a date mangani jim. Ja, dus je kan nog te make tekst. Dan de het gebeurt, dan de speech zo aan de dag not. Ik kan de have develop a plan on how to continue that process after. Dan het is snaakt. So it's gonna also stay in hier doe to the planning was there. Ik kan als goed big zo en me think kan nog te maken niet. Ik zeg meet man is zat hij heb big one snap. Het zit schema moet je hebben zeker.
Me good, Robin. Our next candidate, Lyndon Spencer. Same question. How will you bring together Cree Nation government, education, and the health department to work under one clear plan? And what will you do to make sure they work together and share resources to strengthen our nation? 3 minutes.
Yeah, I can get. Oh, that's not. Yeah, I can get Joey good strike out. Do you have to stand because we're in one nation and I'm gonna Joey good strike. Do you cheat Mamo Gabweek? And it's important get departments to have that basic communications. Again, the Cree School Board, Cree Health Board. I'll give us now, like that's where we came from. And I'm going to we need to find a solution, yeah, and then how do you nadum kids run in Stampton? It's going like a speed. We need to find a way, yeah, then to respect people's roles, not to respect and yeah, when they shave a cheese the kids and by building a stronger connection with different health board, Cree School Board and Cree Nation government. It's come squash and then we do teach week then ishtam. And I'm gonna Joey establish week to have that working relationship so and because it's going to speak week what the US system so when I affect to higo now and I'm gonna Joey nandu itumka. Then they got usually waptum then there in ishtam. It's important to have those, you know, and I'm going to go to Tianga, to which you do, you know, to me be yok. I got in silos to have a chistum to Mamo, and I'm going to nash to eat dick, to eat chidonano. Some stees wap then on in silos at the Codigas Goya. Oh, it's Cree Health Board's problem in another way. I'm so awesome one. And I'll you know, to eat chidwick. So ones we include Hano, then they get can often and like especially get health, you know, like Mshti dropped in it's because got health and it's like we're in a health crisis out the USC then and by standing together and utka waskabika table ga do jam with them then how do you snap things on and it's important to do chidwick so good.
Next, I hear candidate John Henry. How will you bring together the Cree Nation government, education, and the health departments to work under one clear plan? And what will you do to make sure they work together and share resources to strengthen our nation? 3 minutes.
Good. It's coming, Christine. I stand extra on me, God. How and gave me at a gave start. I'm certain the most would not. You still get en jagon nas ji mam netim hige ka sa se utsuwich ji gnochtam ka di shudat dan ge gespech mbuitai ka jagon ignoting nodn het skut ma jaon nesten yub mat sunir ga nagit stadoge ega ge uchi speit de shudat ye go ji gnochtam dan en jagon shashka dodum dan en jagon ishwit shigik dan tuge ji gnochtam jagon deishni stamchga je pagabu taik min gudik jagon dan je tweet shigudoga steam no nesu sneedim no ga ogun big jagon nas msti bem patamak dis megodsga di seit mega nagdes when nechigen tan is sta koged when jagon ga mental health kana to mstiksim na msti ga dogun he dogun agen det an de ga chbiten hen dis sas wesked masked nyaim no open dis magen de het doge dan how go tak hijawit nagdes dan is bejan scoop tamakske iuj ejibet muhtadado beamt stwashimnod beamt jushimsnode eske eben beednio wieshe to dagdoge stige tukske akwiasunge de egnop tegnojge maskut detskut majant enokt magende anige danoish ustadoge mbitadoge chgo yendi matsinu kana agstado mstitugun jugon ji gnoptung min bego min ji upogabu tai do ji msku tai kun dan de doge ji switch haikut steam nozga augustin nas msti aduksge and they should that nas msti ji da kogik jagon ji matsion nozga kem se ji gnoptung min de shni stamsga min atsiksion ji mi ujo dike ji bukseitum ke ji mi obuike do de shni stamsga Wysgad stwashim nodsgwy mam neima nodsge wion deish ni stamsge di mi obu doge huyo mswe daniu jagonishin de taksge di swaspedag nodwen ga de do ji mi obu diga ogun jagon ji mam neitim higge na stat state tagen ji smegod min ji gnotam dange be ji teken de shudat na kage de do jen stonuk dan how ji shgabu taike dan how ji shit steak min deish ni stamt gede migach
Miigats John Henry. Eko he min matsti I yabajagnu he gwet Simon. Ego he I have candidate number 1, Sami. How will you bring together Cree Nation government, education, and health departments to work under one clear plan? And what will you do to make sure they work together and share resources to strengthen our nation? 3 minutes down.
But thank you for the important question. Niga is wat man ja. Did you squat agnotskan ja? USC. What's that like education and be match you and did you reach out team the dog ja? Nie deed maar doen heb je op maat ziet doen als te gaan mist uit heb je op maat ziet doen doen ja deed daar het zit moet heb je acht ziet moet deed daar spelen doen daar wordt het niet hè did you meer bij gaan op maat zien het stemma doen dit mist je staan bij dan die op maat zien nog ik wil naar nee maar moet bij hem zo en die stoort het gaan die gaan staan bij dan Did you reach Shidwick? Jish. Hanan, asku is nagen ja. Ega, reach Shidwick, me god stal bid one. Mogen je deze naaks, het mogen je deze spoed. Net skut de maas van ons. Abet simgen, mog deze skut maas winji. Mogen deze hoeden mee op maat zien, of mogen dan deze abet zien. Nee, bij tijd gaan we snel zo op het hoe dat schoegen te maken. Ziet ze maar eens niet. Dat je bij dat dag ja, dat je iets op het zien doet, ik zeg maar moe. Je nu ziet ze gewoon net goed te pat. Nu dat het zo. Na sta bij de mamskat sigurde je daar bet staan dit niks zo nieuw bij dat. Uag, ebedagno to her. Miam Jewish got digno. We got digno our goals, our timelines in our community, and to want to prioritize it. To want to nanagistic. But ni you chief kay debian in my community asking to do that abitun which abitchi matches create help board was kawi tun mamu the banaut jabitchik tenan do on here state tactica for mental health, physical health, cultural identity, and youth leadership. State ni mamu bikem she. Egut mshe jemi ubik. Egun geni begon di snacks in no median. Ega dots betje beyond back. Idi joet sugar ega duxin here. We chick shoot. Agde migot.
Miigwech, thank you very much, Sammy. Egunin he governance and self-determination gadukchai category. Ekohe gudigar category health and well-being. Ek Linden chinistem mai he chkin naskustano he gwet statement. So first candidate Linden will respond to this question under health and well-being. Mental health and well-being are vital to the strength of our nation. How do you plan to improve support for the mental health of our people? In your view, what does it mean to be well within EUWISG? And how will your leadership honor and incorporate traditional understandings of healing alongside modern approaches? 3 minutes, yeah.
Like shawas now gonna those the health and well-being guys because like mental health, like it connects to social issues. Some threads on it all connects together. I'm gonna say because on it now, and the violence and the mental health, and we need to treat them the way like how we could work. Because it's a one thing and I'm connect to it, and I want to support a Cree-led organization run by our psychology social work like to build these Wichiwon centers in the community. And the Wichiwon centers will offer the consulting, get the land base guys via good last week, and job support we check then we do t-shirts and the life skills and like it's gonna help take the pressure off from the Cree help board I did say man with like we adopt them now she's just nothing and do them counseling and you have to it's gonna be an open door guy we basically adopt them we try good steam notes and it's gonna like I'm gonna bring the Cree help board that like the help board housing, education and justice together to work as one, like I mentioned and each them not in silos but I'm going to measure the success and how many people feel supported. We got much yapumke each one centers and mshtiasin we choose one. And the land base and I know it's like it's too short, like 6 weeks program shop shishin it. We need one that keeps on going. I took we channel that steam knows now she's and the transition homes to provide a longer term stays after now wouldn't cause the healing programs. We channel that to have the like workshops, programs, need cultural activities, mental health support, and it's a system which goes steam notes to stay on track, not to fall back into those mentioned quinkads. Going up to God, we cheese so that yes, it's game stagnant, but the cost of losing our people is more, and it's far like the cost again. I know, and we have to act like we have to help them know that their lives matter. Because agunag na siya in duit man gad.
Migot
Thank you.
Linden. John Henry, egun yabits getsi na gwet stemon. Mental health and well-being are vital to the strength of our nation. How do you plan to improve and support the mental health of our people? In your view, what does it mean to be well within EUSG? And how will your leadership honor and incorporate traditional understandings of healing alongside modern approaches? 3 minutes.
Bitte, wie geht's, Christine? Was geht es noch erzählt now? Utkai, gag noch te genoeg ga. Die was shit goud na no do. They were skid. In those school do. Yet an geish stiga kigodoge. Michedo NG. Skidga gem sega we stagnods. Wir speak stem de no now, ditsten new. Dan you go ish no snehig no go. They shni stamped you twitch hagnod. EU it's scanesit. Minua chixinio egnop te gniet get an you twitch higo de tu jimio buit de shni stamped. Twitagon ge. Dan you na nako go egnop te gnogo ogo big. Ugaish gugwet semunanoskia. U matsion nes de is gnop te gniet is mio buit geawen. De shni stamped. Health and well-being and anos. Ogun big chagon masket de shudach. Mugusa wishweon chi mutadano ge. Mugmuiju tagun nasja ji nusna hegno one you wishweon ge. Et tuja ji gnop tegnogo. Egout nashut it say taxet when jagnotikni when jeb mutadat. Egin a bit sweet de shudat. Masket shashut strabuge tiano. EU jigaits kanesi. Ekjeb msinham ke tiano. Organization got to go call to action. Dan die zich not mu matsione not nurske mi not sixione in adam. Get you stagnot and cheji mamo bedo use. Ji wenji wedjich jenagat stado get to dando and ga wemstikshimnach commission in anoska jano ti use gates can see. Ogun nasim sti stika went it in the day. We aren't say thing new big stem no now gates kokia we shown kain goish nus higno gokia. Modern sehen yachbu again you michediga. Ashkud bus mina sachbu chenka. Tiano mag eskut stiano says you can autumn go at the dojish skoga weekend they sni stamska. Then you knew to go to Jewy gabu take, then you to go to Jimbu Toika get steam nods, enes to snijim nods get they sni stamps. Was in a stawem sti de tagan jish. Jignotam kuhet, dan is sta kugdo, steam nodes, nus to snijim nodes ge. Stmadi tagun ya da we hasko. Agash chedo ishnakska, and of them ge nast mshti da kugdo ge to snijim nod. Asko ishnaks, when I could best to snijim nodes ge. I should strabil, jignotam kuhet, call to action gen anot. Janot, inot, it's kanesich. Egde, migach.
Migot, John Henry. Sammy, egun getsi go ahead gwet stemon. Mental health and well-being are vital to strength of our nation. How do you plan to improve support for the mental health of our people? In your view, what does it mean to be well within EUSG? And how will your leadership honor and incorporate traditional understandings of healing alongside modern approaches? 3 minutes.
Migwetska. Niga state action in mental health being Jitak Hugun and Matitiga dan Chiga and Jidret Choganga. Agaga do Tuxni certain funding for education. Goish with my goods Jim J10 I got to Chigaga. Well Arctic in this school Naga which could Machan window to English program did you reach Higyanya from Cree School Board. During my experience, Jikstan me go their school yan. Titout, you know again, Edukutu buitado again, you booked Masudo. We got to Chishapskin again here, the Jiwi Chigatska Cree School Board. It really makes an impact on your confidence and mental health and sense of belonging. You know, Jiwi Chigat, Wyongan, that way any Wyonga it's dead. That way again we jog and Wyonga it's dead, so squat had. Naga Joet Chogan. Doubt bus ni joggins. They got spites. I made a dog who squat out. Any chill guys in Gadit. Big I can we joggin. Chichu without Stanley Cup guys in Gadit. A.J. Greer is in Gaso, Florida Panthers medal. Couple years later, I was very happy to see an English program in Rouen, Noranda. And you have your very own Israel Mianskim that played in that team. The right support for our people. There are a lot of kids that feel that are left behind. They got we though. To the well-being of EUSG means a lot when we connect to our land, to our language, to our families. Jano agots team not Jedon Joahte a duxen here, and we naganag no do as kadigm stew don't go. As you chief, do you have a team out in the Cree Help Board was go do? Did you eat then? Most go eat then. The meeting I can hear dux land-based healing, cultural teaching, and the guidance that me get our elders. I'm always going to give that approach, and I'm always going to push for prevention in schools.
Miigwech Tammy. Minu matsti wenhe egunu he Robin Gall Sagnash. Mental health and well-being are vital to the strength of our nation. How do you plan to improve support for the mental health of our people? In your view, what does it mean to be well within EUSG? And how will your leadership honor and incorporate traditional understandings of healing alongside modern approaches? 3 minutes.
Miigwech. Wajek msha. Nagne big to one get that way and chiga stabu good the when is the mental health. Sen nanaku is nagne mental health when in it's skak. Like depression, anxiety, sen nanaku doing different types of disorders at the content how. Again, I know Chicoyo, it's got me also go with how Jano EUSG did I had good Masuika, Joyo nail. This in systemic Joyo nail. This which I could get Jano. My is Mokri Help Board out, my Mokri Nation government out. Jano get. We have a role in our health and shed Jano down EUSG. Again, that's good big one I have gadgety training said the call. Again, that's what's got me also a manga. Mental health I'm with diagnose ga. Ekne mam nit min get mental health. Msti taki jebio to demon. Gino tuan. Said on a dude mean that has a matchon. Again, na say miot ga that way land-based programming is at that. Did you duct gasne? Did you mbit? Did you duct where she did stead on it? I got a don then our cabin besho did it that all. Again, that's good big to one's coming also a cannot make it. This is cannot make. But at the same time, I develop week this plan. Yam had out jid when jid and they'd call help. So we chigudoya. What do they need? Again, that's good nasum seeds on jay mam need to make ya. We all we hanot. We all squeam hanot. Again jid when jid double jim hike it. Did it make joy in the skako? Everything from prevention, intervention, kag healing at the end. Dan is date college we chagno do ya. Egin myo de cannot take not ga. We isn't say them when joy in date. Asku gonna do make me also, but asku go grad man get in ga. Our youth, our children, our elders. Joy on date go. Egin me also. Get to my cut I to our elders ga. Joy date go yoga. Joy is swapped on the match you know ya. Dan is been waiting this, dan is we check out when. Nega cannot money get traditional modern approaches say don't not get. We also cannot make both of them when we chigo joy. I could nega mean a date man any much when their health and well being and what they not. Next good when I got mom net, danage mitrian, danage we jan. Jonje machigan wouldn't how. Again, those are the basic needs and they make what how used to. We have to make sure share when did you add nail. Again, it's still stable who go down when I got yard on nail. My date more that day, my go. Again, like Nasty mam need make. Egada, me watch.
Miigwech, Robin. En skumdom seg I her the naskustaye again here I her and she's health and well-being. Kuhe mingudits category educt egnu here housing I'm with it. Question number 1 under housing. John Henry egunistum jes naskustat we got stemunyo. John Henry, how will you ensure transparency in housing management and allocation in EUSG? 3 minutes.
Ude, mi gert Christine. Moos gaat ze gaan. Ja, iemand. Ja, het is imam niet te migig. Mi am te gaat gaan als je chip stijken die straks. Dan een het straks gaat. Ze gaan. En nee, dat stijgen nog. Was kijken hoe stijgen nog. Met je stuk ja. Maar ik zeg een atem. Dan gaat het straks een stuk. Ik een atem genoeg. Nee, 2x4 years gaan aan het. Als je nu eens gaat een stap zie, straks ziet ze. Die zeg ik nog dan. Als je gaat een shabab ziet, dus straks ziet ze. Ook een zo'n nasje, ja, je moet gaan. Nee, ik nog dan kunnen hebben. En ik ben waarschijnlijk ja, je die tijd kan je uitzien. Dan je bij is, als je ja, moet gaan, het straks gaan. Ja, dan moet je gewoon die ganze gaan, die zich nog dan gaan. Die is niet stamt. Dan hou is een data kon je waarschijnlijk. Daarna kun je die knop te aan. Dan je wie date wie dan is een date dan de is het nu tigig waarschijnlijk nog te doen. Gaat Giano denk je de je gaat schatjes je weet mooi goed je steeds dagen is we al je meegweg dan de white stad dan de is knop te komen die is niet staan zo waarschijnlijk nog te genoeg. Maar staan we te kunnen gaan dus was je weet hem hier dan een is een dechtemke die is niet staan nou dus moet je het zeggen dan hou waarschijnlijk dan je nieuw hoe ik ga dan dan hou die snack dan die is een dechtakse die dan die het stak koken niet dan zeg die snack zo het strooi dus ik nog dan die is niet staan die companies hoe je die hoe gaat mij goed die switch die is niet staan Get on die switch stijg hoe je het company me zo de ino taunska dat dat is wie je gabo stijg de doe die school gabo dog je te gaan daar we is kom sti ja is knop te genoeg door waarschijnlijk knop te genoeg dan is een dicht kooi je was te gaan dan is daar kogen doen op maatjes je schuldig gaat dan is een beetje gaat sti ze gaat te gaan hebben ook een zo'n nas stietje die zit mij goed met me stiemenoos dan is bij ik mag je zien mij goed wie al dan hou dan is je genoeg te koken dan is het al we hebben nooit zo ja dan is het stende ja dan is het een data kopen als kijken het doet je zien op te genoeg zo bij pegen die je nog dans dat is
Thank you very much, John Henry. Next candidate, Sammy. How will you ensure transparency in housing management and allocation in EUSG? 3 minutes.
Housing is one of the most pressing issue with the USG. And it's also one of the areas where transparency needs to be much stronger. 우리가 다음에 wouldn't get nega. Jadi mamu bananot, jadi wichi bananot. Make sure the housing management and allocations are clear and fair and publicized, communicated. Communities deserve to know how housing decisions are made. When ga jadi bukit masud ga waska ganyan. And when will they be built or repaired? Mamu Abachike will be able to advocate the 2M squads, the diagnostic reporting systems for all cross communities so that there is no confusion and favoritism in the allocated process. Daweteni, involving the local housing community that includes youth, usnijut, our elders, getting disclosed. So the process can reflect the needs of all families. I would also push for more funding, newer builds, renovations, and a better planning to accommodate our growing population, especially our large families. We need a housing strategy that is transparent, accountable, and community-driven. Egnak nidish, kya, jadi wichigo kya did, usnizo zika ustaw we don't this. Ega jadi we don't it out not. But with that being said, you know, they're good to get stay eitado, whether if it's in the schools, youth centers, and that's why we are here with these megots to ensure that we are running these things so we can help with the housing. Did you each have a dog? Did you did was needed? Have it, migot.
Migot Sammy. Robin, I'm going to get you a good statement. How will you ensure transparency in housing management and allocation in EUSG? 3 minutes.
Miigwech. Negan gnotaman gani gnot waskaigen ga. I did you gnot egnot ga how they develop the process we are. Then how do to go text how they're doing it in each community. Says nanaku isnagan our communities. My bacon tasku isnagan. Some require different needs. Some require specific housing. Tande mo snack na. Egna kay jignot egnot kaya tan how snack needs community tan is gnot ko. Ek misko ti wit mo gno you know tan is gnot egnit yo. Kaya and then how ji amu egnit kaya uste tan is beat that process. Ji amu tak na when housing that locally mika kaya ji gnot tak tex wit magyog jon how na. Tan is pick wagnot tenant. Tan is gno magnot what are the requirements. Egin nasut kami also ji no tagnot kaya. The take make jon requirements then how housing in the creation. Again, that's good big to one nest not make in each community specific needs the one. In each of our communities. Some communities are growing a different way, others are growing in another way. You cannot make now everybody and how they're growing. Then it is support why I get into those communities. Again, that's what's got me also that you cannot make from down up I don't know. Stoiked are people in the communities and what their I na straight it go yo in that time to jim hagno dog it yo to ji witko what are the needs in your community. I got mukjish migyog housing I got hishkagyog in your community. Again that's what's got me also can not take not get uste. Mina gde good guya si sweet chewing aga nega housing management and allocation nation got it. Yes, because you can often unknown ha private housing. Private housing is we check it get when you good start off. Jid one jid a good stado neo I nasis in the Iman ji good stand we zum Diane was geigen ni. There was one pig at Diane. No ji Iman mugam snusrian said go in date man nas ji I'm he well ji we check it was ten jid one jid. Cause you get same one done little man done snack to one and date man my nasu ji we chigon ji dogon mo mugnus na ha. Ik might didn't sit stand ask go to one or hair it's not dead gap. So I think we need to look at our housing transparency allocation. Dex did not make in our community stand a snacks. Did you wait to make dex? Again, private housing did you not make epsies? Did you we check it or stingy doing it? We could start on now. We all the Belshid of their own house. And like it's not the man you have housing gap. Miguet.
Miguet here, Robin. The Kagano Matsti when here. Lyndon, how will you ensure transparency in housing management and allocation in EUSG?
Yeah, we're in a housing crisis with the USC. Msti's up there now. I'm going to put my young guys Bambiang as a down. It's creating problems with the USC. It creates social issues, and that's where it starts. And I'm going to can often overcrowding homes to gun. Mamu we do it one zit. And it creates mold gap. And some chat down and was kaigen. And I'm gonna joey nandoitum ka. Then you wish take more units ka. Did you check out the nuts? And monga we need to also think outside the box mush. And that includes men's shelters, women's shelters. Get the transition apartments for post-secondary students. And it's important but you got school out. I used to it out in the guy weeds it, and I think it's important to prioritize that because some shit was needed in the item was kagan. Shit did change in the item was to dignity was kagan and more, and we cannot rely on social housing now shish, you know. As steam knows in the items their own was kagan no again, and. When it comes to negotiations like the NRA, we need to stop using today's prices negotiating. We should be projecting the cost of housing in 2035 speed. Prices of material, fuel, food, much obvious bill. And organization negotiating na and uga CNG level nagastart na why was kaigan. And shash, squimianot. The local leadership, chief and councils, we all did nagastats neo gawaskagan senate. Tatum doesn't same as their own community members, and we have to trust them. You know, they're in these positions because there are people I put them there, and and housing committees. You know, and we need to be more transparent and miwek was kaigan. And organize we nanduitum to reevaluate then they shmano then house was kaigan yo. Jewi nanduitum because social housing indeed mid-incomers that's muy included down in the social housing and shti hagus needs 1,000 and jiga guy and obviously to get to have that fair criteria so when eligible to that was kaigan sanuit and good
Academic Lyndon. Agunin here housing kaya modets ekuhemi gudets I hear quit Simon I category education. Then istum one just naskustad egun I Sammy Salt Blacksmith. Sammy, how will you help shift the mindset that educated community members are seen as assets and not threats, and ensure they have a meaningful role in shaping our nation's future? 3 minutes. Number 3.
Ceiling and a question. Education, Yiga Watman is a pathway to opportunities, but to make it accessible for our people.
Timer.
Oh,
Sorry. Okay.
but doing within the opportunities, but we must make it accessible and relevant and also rooted in our culture. I will push for stronger, supported post-secondary students, more trades, and vocational training communities. Every day, go to the vocational training school, and post-secondary. I guess it's good in my time of education. The budget's way too. Yeah, we point out. Okay, the itban me go that's good masha. Chebian negi. Tande je dux chewija. Then like a date man ya. I got the G where the magnet ya when I bet you every. Scamio, to good needs a plan when they come home from education. Tao do indeed a did not good master door. Sound hint. I got you bet to because of a housing crisis that we have home. If we can fix our housing crisis with the amount of money that's up there, with a reasonable amount per community that are each different. Sure, Nanako is not in each community. With being each community being different, the good these schools that are there for them. And with post-secondary, the good needs, I got you bet to it though. And we want to really develop that plan for them. Got a chance to develop that plan, and especially with the people that I could work with. I'm a people's person, and a people's person goes long ways in the eternity. I got you to it. This is good masud. What's what Robin guy would we would state them to go the criteria it's good masud, new housing, private home educate is good masud. Go jim gain this tane we jim da do ask again. As which could mono do and to come home not seen as threats. Did you reach high kids in these? That's good master dos. The graduates. Be good.
Be good. Thank you, Sami. Next question. Next candidate, Robin. Same question. How will you help shift the mindset so that educated community members are seen as assets, not threats, and ensure they have a meaningful role in shaping our nation's future? 3 minutes.
Miigwech. Ne when it's good the masud, tis nanaku the one it's good masu nanot. Ne no take note then how ute daiki uschi. That one in the school do trades, again and then how carpentry, plumbing, welding, she nanakun ha. Mean to gun the spent Nanaku programs, college programs, business, we should health, then they have a good start now. Ek mean the university the one. She Nanaku Chibu, she Nanaku G Abachun, we do Modozi when G they do go. But Jit get when Jit would how you see, got is when she to a kid get. Jit when Jit no to meet Kadado. Damn, she is strong the other. Then how in the land at all. Sheep without your to one. Sheep without no yamon get. I like to not me get my mugging cheat when jit will be the share one not how. Jit get when jit got Gistado school or I got Gistado guest school, Uthan our community habits. Pastors no when jit, they develop their careers as they go. What I mean by that is started habits continued near habits. It's good masu to your chait mod nest to go. Ag mis good egin mean good exon is economic make ya. It's different types of education. My muk bake the one. We all have a role in our community. Dan de issue with chiwek. Sheds no snehan on here, dan de issue with chiwek. Again, like to economic make ya. Get we take it and did one jit get a school dog get higher education. Did you economic dog get or the organizations like Cree School Board, did you eat go? More went out and did you develop a plan? Did you eat go? Yeah. We have these people going into this profession. Moyo edabit shado. Did you eat go? We but did you eat mogdo? Cree School Board, Cree Health Board. You in our communities get construction companies. Did you eat mogdo? Yeah. Not interested in that one anyway. But we bet a cheat go and it's getaw and a game tado. So again, as it's also get in here, I'm with the like the economic do, would it when it as assets, my threats. And here we are with the we need to trust our people to do to go. Say to do to go, same education yet, but to do to go the down south. Did you trust to hike it our people? So it's good master. Cheatmut get to you, it's good master. Get at the same time, Inuitun, Inuyamun again touts get bust. So, does he gonna make it now? Agada, Miguet.
Thank you, Robin. Lyndon, I'm going to get you a good statement. How will you help shift the mindset that educated community members are seen as assets and not threats, and ensure they have a meaningful role in shaping our nation's future? 3 minutes.
Education is one of the most important things, guy. Like EU iton, or the day we school up the guy went to go. I'm showers in the school last week, and I'm gonna go. Yeah, which like, we try good steam notes to utilize some swear to be inclusive. I'm gonna go. Get big as we have to stop seeing our educated people as threats. Use them as assets. It's important. It's important that we invest in their educations. But sweats, too many we do then they have it cheats. Neo got start without the field that they want. And it needs to change. And I want to push for policies that guaranteed sweats and are part of the decision making, especially internships. I'm going to go to use internships. I'm still swapped on the down south. I had no internships, and I get develop 100 steam not channels. And we need to create like a mind shift. Shift to shift, like starting with the leadership. To lead by example, include and mentor and educate with the professionals. And we need to use good master notes. We do then there's a bed sweats, got no school dots. We agnash without that. Because we do then and Augen mag a transition apartment building students from post-secondary. It's gonna give them a space, a safe, affordable to adjust back and to build the stability. And Augen got the policy we include as 3 to 5 years the apartment buildings. And you need credit building support and financial workshops. And you check that to apply that the home ownership. And I would like now to we good tianga coming home shouldn't be going backwards. This is your community. And I would say to be with Mamo. And let's welcome uji kat skud masot uyu waskai gan hitogni guda
Miigwech, Lyndon. John Henry, egun getchu he guts Jamon. How will you help shift the mindset so that educated community members are seen as assets and not threats, and ensure they have a meaningful role in shaping our nation's future? 3 minutes.
Good. Miigwech, Christine. Istam ga JDA Gugwej Moudji Mishnji need the big and Dashimt. Jenny Bodon, where they have Dacha Bedo. Trudy, Nick, Nibuga. Say Nishada. As said you third university degrees. And dance masters to you could share. Gijiden, Ego big. Jagon mam chigan om gusni do o tech. Squeegee capitano. Weird and the shigan of my hood to sneeze. Gehio than the sweet chisado. Niga schoolan me god. We know street you every. Secondary school on. That's no some guy should bet your heck. To bet we chidos steamed. A good habits man. A good habit you. En zie maar naar dit schooldag ba washende. Het goed maar zo. Maar het kunnen geen zit staguio. Louis, jish, jij moet doen. Ujim se check zo doen en met doedga. Sas pe jij mi kagonio. New mode. Spams gaat de geniet. We bams gebina NHL gaan anoska. Het se magnod. Ustijo exot. As pe jij mi kagonio. Ogen jagon uji. Company Jano Gaya could good man Jano Ganigansko Mag Mad Senior Sony in Nako. So I got children of Madonia. And I do the same other than Tetais. Then did you choose the dog? Mean Jibet yet Hado. Then you should name a dog. Get next day me a dog and Tetais. Egan Jagon Nash Vagnoptiano. Jagwe Dajid in Mskugawi Exodo. Then you knew it's good must do sneezed. Gen mam chigojge uji chesibino eji bedado ne de ji apeko begun gaspats good majon jish ogun jagon jegnotum min de schnistamt bedadao ude staan nos ude use new tanti just good macedonia mojga spite ji good majo ashit ut de ji good macedo. Let's bring home the education institution. Ogun very sweet man. You get.
Miigwech. Thank you, John Henry. Eka minuhe ai he jegnoptum egunuhe economic development kainanuts kaisangadets category. Question number 4. Egunistum my Robin. She's going to respond to this question. What is your vision for creating sustainable, community-driven economic opportunities, and how will you ensure that these developed projects respect the land and provide fair benefits for all members and not just a few? 3 minutes.
Miigwech. Nega we can take note then how economic development. Shen anaku is nagan economic development. Otugun in our communities and outside of our communities. This can take note how to support the people always subitado how in our communities. Shes nanaku it's in the tenano abitun. Shen anaku is wichiwa wana. Ega jijikono my kid and jid when jid where's my kid joyo in the joy in date go. Joyo bitado yo. Joyo straight date go. Does he continue expanding our economic development? Does he ensure does he with these projects? So finding a way to support Waikid or Jidwanji there will be Tebridoneo. Edutko ga ne abitun. Making a business we started off. Starting up businesses, managing a business. But we check it not just the beginning. Is we check it Finding ways to support our local businesses. Again, this is not straight attacked. Did you continue to support with how? Did you take with how in our own communities? And that's the make to with how when it make again me also it would make out how you see helping one another. Again, this is what's got me also doing a cannot take note. But me a good thing I cannot take note economic development. You also see I'm not talking about trees. You also see mining. Sen anaku dogon yo joyo. Sen anaku is taki jebio. This cannot take note uste njishka. I had the chance to visit a mine recently and dognot man get a snacked. Dan guys stut ko. Dan guys attribute has gene that how they chair. Gnot man got the impacts. Ik mis goed explain do dan is stut konjish. Dan de gas atstadone do. There before got the corner minds. I got not should do it get regulations get on it. Ik kan jish nas atju is nagat. Dus ik kan ook tegen elkaar gaan. Er zijn regulations get. Get na how Quebec uitzibuiko. But jano get je kan ook make. Did you develop with our own regulations with how you see get? Did you can ook make ja. Dan is mbiko. Dan is tak hoe die no. Njid when jid then how out in the land that all. Msti tak hoe with their land that we need to go. Did you can ook make that impact? Dan is tak hoe do. Ik mis goed did you nugget steak ja. To lower the impact from Shendan how. Ik mis goed there cannot take note kage. Did you we chi do ja economic economic development. Share mamo did you do make ja together with the Tallymen, Jano de CNG, game share. Ik ga zo het kan me also. So said is going to make. I go daar.
Miigwech, thank you very much, Robin, for your response. Lyndon, I can get you a quick same one. What is your vision for creating sustainable, community-driven economic opportunities, and how will you ensure that these development projects respect the land and provide fair benefits for all members and not just a few? 3 minutes.
Yeah, for my vision is to create a economy. Yeah, you know, it's time. It's time we create that for EUST. And some steeds wap then Bij Babylon I wap stuk shots. Bij Jabachista Troya. And we beat most of the I just ran them now. And I couldn't make Joey good strike to snake good Steve knows niche them. Our own entrepreneurs, our own companies, what the EUST together. That is owned by us, you know, and it's important to create jobs with the EUST. Jobs, and we have to include them and make sure we have a future. As a Cree business owner in the Adan, I'm stingy nitchkens gone. I'm stingy wapten. Steam notes and mash for contracts. So you can see ads with the EUST. Young entrepreneurs like myself, nitchkenan roadblocks. Nashaga gnobin guyatka, nashaga yata support, nashaga dame guyatka, egak stay at in gaga do matzagon. And we need to remove these barriers ga dukka. Shash, we need to include with entrepreneurs, include ge indeed one is gabin and stop allowing local development corporations to compete against our own entrepreneurs in our community. And they were meant to help, and we need to restructure the local development corporations, their mission statement. They were there to benefit and help our entrepreneurs grow. And we need to, we need to utilize our tourism. And we need, like EUSG, Tam Yasho, Munagan, Mstiji Beshano, Shuyan, Bedukshikadia, Wanjit, Awaptakadi EUSG. And I'm going to Joey Gushtai, the Taumano, like the tourism, and in the economic opportunities, the mines, it's, yeah, Yaiman. Get the logging, Mshti Ditagan, Mshti Noftens, why speak good steam note, the Tallymen. I got upset talking about that. Agji we got bush talk on we got bush talk got steam notes the tally man to consult with them. It's important to include them in the discussions. Development we bedag no kaya. Agun is approve da like agreements we just sign weeks. It's time. It's a mash like we the bit correct debate as well bit beat it and do it. And it's time. It's a mash like good there.
Miigwech Lyndon. John Henry. What is your vision for creating sustainable, community-driven economic opportunities, and how will you ensure that these development projects respect the lands and provide fair benefits for all members and not just a few? 3 minutes.
Good. It's come Christine. What I have, that's good. Yes. Just the point is that's case. Can autumn go. Uskud the garbage. Bumbuits in here. But Sion, Gapsias go tagnod. Was Gagnus UCB. Michado and Eddie Dakudia. Modes are gone against the mass and man. We screw it, Madrid. Mugji were beaten Jagabo EO. Company a yard again. A gauchiado, Dabitunio, Miched, company. She thought the guy, he knows Abba Shadop. Ogagan Jagon, we about snagging him. Yeah, Chedo, he should not take a note again. And Abba Tune, a bit snagging out. Ah, peace dead. Usa, Wimstick shoe, read the mouth, cheat, company, a bit beat David. Mugia go magis, Mugia, out chidi, no. Mukshagot, Nagdes, the Winnie said that and how it's chidi. Ogan, mistake, got no time when they should that. Ashtagan, no chu gaji, they sneeze stamp, you should not them to some schoolgabo high couldn't see companies. Yet you reach high could, yeah, and him, which case. I'm with the gnotes, ched the bunch sashi, I'm with the gnome here. And here, and you give a contracts, kind of no terms, say, Miagno do, Abitsunio's company. Ash, which is real, at the doji, the archistum. Jeji schnacked, Eoek, Jeji gnob magnot. We, Jeji adnio. Mam nicht mehr danst million askop je bekan hagenot oostje die tokstabation in ons sitnes say no dansge. Dat is stig hoe bij ons leer. Zo een hanon, we moeten go 12 mano. De gun die smega je aan dat zei tegen ons ge. Mog nas ge me tegen no hin je gedacht zo hoe de magia. En stoin aan het. Mam nicht da. Danst million, sas we bid. Ik ga me zo op make. Iot by Ionia. As me good now, then is gnop tunk to go. Yeah, we swear and have moved to go Quebec, we jog not as we miss good on her. As we should have been with the man's. Egin chicken up that. Egin stead amog. Achi stedag. Io, did you cheat you? We, did you can accept you? Could we go taginid? I would see you a bit to beat the new contract. Augustus. Mchadon GM would then have as GM would then get negative we should video go stand. They should that to go up then on hand GM would then get it.
Miigwech John Henry, thank you. Sami Egunyabits get you what is your vision for creating sustainable, community-driven economic opportunities, and how will you ensure that these development projects respect the land and provide fair benefits for all members and not just a few? 3 minutes.
You good, Christine? You guys what man, yeah? Did you reach hang a dog at Stadium Notes? You got did you jump that dog, yeah? Their community for the economic development. Big and you got sustainability, community driven, and also did you respect and Alaska, our land? Believing in our economic development should create opportunities for all. Did you we tag a dog again? Show and did Jiga booked maso dogya. Did you boita dogya? Would you use this? Stinim nuts, did you eat tiger nistum? Epson jido amstagrishu. Niga skudmasvian, di skolo negas parts project management guys got it. When I was get this start. Also get I in the school and construction business management. It taught me a lot of planning and leadership skills that need to projects that it needs to be managed. But personally, I didn't finish business management, but it gave me a strong understanding of how to balance the growth with protecting our environment and land. For construction business management. Dema donio RBQ, did you book Macedonio? I'm shy going get contracts. As Deputy Grand Chief, you opt in Yumsti, Cree owned businesses 100% to Jim Yadogna, Cree entrepreneurs and local jobs in every community. The Jim Yadoga investing in our communities by training, mentorship, and capacity building. So our people can become not just workers, but leaders, managers, and owners in our economic projects. In any development we approve, we must come with a clear community benefits, proper environment protection, revenue that's going to come for our safe housing and education and youth programs. But pushing for these stuff, it has to be creed-driven, an economic strategy where all sectors for forestry, mining, tourism, clean energy. All these partnerships come together. It comes with respect. The land is just not a resource. It's our identity. And any development that wanted to be targets, school down ha. Me go text to knowledge.
Thank you very much, Sammy, for your response. Ekmino he I land, environment, and rights. Egudemin Jesa he Jesignautum. Ekagano he I question number 9. Lyndon Egonistum one he responded. If elected, how will you report back to communities on progress with protected areas and environmental protection? 3 minutes.
Yeah, straight they talking about EUST, our environment, and it's not mukdende ewijik, agde gout stick with it, and it holds our identity, our history. So long that's good last week, and it's gonna guide us. Then there we do take the nishtam. If we protect it, which time we got steam knows to include Free Trappers Association we are got some mute and I wouldn't make Jerry Gustian to wapti God's steam note to be transparent. It's going a speak environment. The environment it should be Cree led. I see the gun. We want to should Babios. General steam notes or taliments. We are mute satums diosino. Augi Joey Abachaiko. And to have like a better report structure to the communities the progress of protected areas enjoy the mouth chayots protected areas I tour CNG tour about this and machine you have mouth a dots buying I never them gonna I wish I did protect me on this area. But meaning about Dukshikats, we protected the gun though. And they had etik. And now can make Joey good strike. Joey, we try could is our taliments. Neo and do it called the Udasiwa protected Zigdogani. We mashtano. Stay tagging us in the USC. And sweat, we channot. And the dish can often can you see. Yeah, I'm shout development, but if a Taliban and Doitek to protect a certain part of the UST, we non-stone us. Yeah, Shashtugunio, Hydro Quebec as plano development future projects gone our land. Aschi Marco, and that's why, man. I got to Coneo, the protected areas in the Taliban gun Doitek. And we upset on us and steam notes. We all got some mutate them. There's history. How they got that shoots now, Eshkits. How they got weeds it. How they got bumtets. How they got do tigos neo. And we do who does. And it's important. It's a historical side. We channels to protect these areas that they want. How they got thousands in the Tatums.
Migots Linden. Minuhe Yabit same question to John Henry. If elected, how will you report back to communities on progress with protected areas and environmental protection? 3 minutes.
Ure mi gutsa Christine. Skudden de snjene met no pun ho dat. Eg nachtam. Moutse goyo. Ega go ichi kapt. Back to us ma ogen kstun geek. Ego tag out chibitga. Tiji mshku staik. Tikstun no. Tiji kapt. Tjus ma. Esk me god jistogen heavy shwewen. Nyandem met naum snijo Quebec. Eik en heks van. Nag is ik nog te genoeg gaan, die niet stemt. De gun, dat weet je dus. Het doe, ze zien wie dat het zien mij kunnen zien. Zie je, doe hier nog en ik ga het schotten. Geen doe hier nog eens. De gun is een twee. Zo ga op het omkend dus. En als je me afzet, staan hem nog. De gun zie je bij je goed. We all ga je gaan wat Adam zegt. We all. Tibetsen sod. We are Tibet nibo stomtem se, dan is boek dagenot. En mag is knoptem ja dis niet stamt. Ik denk ook is wat het man niet. Dus jullie daar bet zie mij goed. En zie, daar hem se ga ik daar door hinot. Ja hier get die. Het goed mag ik die bet no tigig. Je nesten zie, mistit aan is ja daar sas. Dan nu abet zie nu en zie. Do he nog aan je gaan schadden. Als dat toch een stie, die schud maasje kan houden. Dan een die shit no tegen in deze niet stamt. Die smegot, usa, ne de, abetiont, misschien de ongehoord beter met je dat te gaan. Dan je wat wie je genoeg te aan ook ja. We all, iud, stie joud nu het steeds monio. Dan je nu deze dat schijspet, moet dat al. Ioi tonio, ioi monio ja. Duizend je nashim stie het zet koge, daarbij. Je gaat mij goed. Hoe stie ik nog te dan die je geneigd omke. Dan je moest je geneigd act. Ik ga het doen je zo naar stagnot. Die snakt. Ook een beetje daar. Naar dit. Moet toch een he hier man. Moet toch een hem snadet naar dit. Dan je is het steekt. Je het steekt man gaan uit. Moet naast toch een nou. Je snoot tegen de doen deze niet stemt. Nu ik nog dan koe zie je een sterk niet om ik ga doen die zo naar stagnot. Ik de migut.
Thank you very much, John Henry. Sammy, egun yabits get you a good statement. If elected, how will you report back to communities on progress with protected areas and environmental protection? 3 minutes.
You got Christian. Niga de utbianga amskujma. Stitagenga. Chedoji betagatska yemiat. O yamudegnoska si. Mudegnotka de protected areas. Sa asko nogan de. Ostagnot decision. Ega met danot. Amskujma de bidden de ha. Nu amego de stuina niet. Nyanis nuijnan de ha. Nyan go staubuinane drone der duxen de ha. Nyan modes gemaak kwigenan. Getten jit doshimet. We all doshimo. The futures to come, they're the ones that are going to make the impact for us. Niag bitebiane. Gwit the mountain jit. Mshe am skut mout. Did you each hang on do? Nishtem. O stag needs new. Yeah, protected areas and environmental protection. You know, these are through formal consultations. Und we miagnot you the direct space. Did you advise o hang on do? Did you guide o hang on do? And also to oversee these projects. Number two, I think I school but needs to out indeed. And these terms of reporting back to the communities. Now she's most updates in person, or through community meetings. Yet, did you eat mongo do? That said that the good needs get new, that's 2 needs. Get their reports. We also wap the mood and they go to the state tagging you and you, did you eat mongo do? And what's being protected and how it benefits the community. But I would like to advocate also more supporting financially, training, resources, so they are fully equipped to monitor and protect their territories. I made them share with a team go I'm scuds about. Share yesterday debate dog I even though. We ought know you the sea war. You ought state more than that. Get in the sea. Yeah, a protected land. Emo degnuts the bam shaw. Shaso. Egnag nediri shapskmanga. Did you eat up and go on jabs could amount did you squat out on you? Did you shite cam protected areas? I academic got.
Mi got I hear Sammy. Eguno Mats DJs to Nasco Stad Gauyo, got Stamon, Eguno Robin. If elected, how will you report back to communities on progress with protected areas and environmental protection? 3 minutes.
Miigwech. Nega mo degnot nji shay protected areas ga. Ek degnot ga the environmental protection. Notice mshit the gun ji gnot degnot nha. The ji gnot degnot ko ga the historic sites and then ji tallymen and the community members ji am hagnoda. The che degnot ga jogon what's important to them. Egen ji gnot mika nistem. As we kind of go with this process, the progress, se attribute. Ekne attribute. You cannot take not. Jogon protect the nanot njish. Jogon we protect the nanot. Nishko neo. We include Wagnodog at Tallyman in the decision. Sned you eat Mogno. Joy spini de oshiwa. Joy protect the nanid. Joy then hadug need. We all chat mode then how we reach it all. We all nash debate mode near their land. We all chat mode they snagging it, joy doing it there, what it means to them. Again, I can have take note to report to people. Yeah, to use the resources I said the call. What I mean by that is indeed local environmental staff, local CTA gabstall. They're the people that are working directly with the tallymen. We locally, regionally, tande snack na. In some capacity. Asku menaskut mubium sheb mamo we them doika. But Jim Hagnodo regularly the people of the land to connect with them, and then how isn't it koyo just Jim Hagnodo. Ne am with the man connect with them with their bush radio. I guess they to go Jim Hagnodo. They connect with their cell phone if they want to use cell phone. Their Facebook means Jim Hagnodo. We have to go to them and go to where they are. Again, have jogone snack gya the process. We need to really have more community info sessions to understand gya what's going on in protected areas and what type of environmental protection is in each area. 지금 특검 셰유시 저희도거 저번에 뭐 저건 지지 protect week 지지 예미고 스테자노 스테지 스택트 디모나노 에긴 해 미어드게 자놈 셰지 예믹 저건 에와프트믹 저건 체이트믹 자노 에긴 아게 스nak 게니 area 아모드만가 해 protected areas 미გვ치.
Thank you very much, Robin. Eko mingudit chai here our category, social issues and justice. Question number 3. John Henry nistam egunin heje naskustadio. John Henry, how will you address the social challenges in our Cree communities, such as poverty, addiction, homelessness, violence, systemic racism, and discrimination, and prioritize justice, safety, and healing? What specific actions will you take to improve the mental health services for the youth, supporting those facing trauma and substance abuse use, and prevent issues like bullying, abuse, and neglect? 3 minutes.
Ode, skumna Christine. Stiers deze dag nachtam ke. Dit zit dan de gauch tbeitske. Uten gistan te taik. En jogan gebit ant skup tam sti snakt. Stam sti di dakogu hiu. Jud nagno dwash. Nestum sti di ispe higdage ni chigmat. Jibedud nagnis dashima egem min shamaje obmada. Özüm shaan hesk. Egnop tegnot. Esk mitchi stano. Jiji dek. Egdechi snakt. Esk dugun danis. Pomtemek jishi snakt. Tianot iusit. Et akogdo iud usnijud ushimshnodge. Ash utstogdo. Mujigji dano. Egji snakt. Dugun sas jiwi gabustum min bego. Etiano. Dande jish gnoptum edish ni stamt. Usnijo es simno jiwi chigdo. Job matsion ewi nadamk. Mino at siksion egno ewi nadamk. Ewi utstamkuyo dish ni stamt. Dan jish. Eto jiwtim skusi isnaksi. Io magtstaunam no nest mamod. De winnen, dat we hesk. Sti, io we tad de seba pig in o town. Mini gijiden, egen hau dekse dod man. We swen hang gijiden. Mugio, dat we de pig in o town tuyo. Bejuit coins. Udagi gut stada. Knop te dagi hu, die signotam. Die moet dai condition is stamt. Ook moot ze gaan. Nigan edichtem higani. We jicht you bejuit moed. Dan en ze gaan die snow snehman. Mui ni dan edichtem higan dan die signot man die is niet stamt. De wind daar we ni. We swear dan giba edichtem higan ja. Moguste nigan de edichtem higan. Dan die spejuit moed die you. Ja, dan die spejuit genomen dige. Dan hou esgabu steku io. Minat siksine is genoeg tekenisch niet staan. Dan is nu te boeken. Is boek zet. Het is beitaginigo. Dat je dus iets goed. Io. Zijn na ko is betat zit. Wat hier zit. Ik deze genoeg manie. Migat.
Thank you, John Henry, for your response. Sami Egun Gechi Uhegwechtemon, how will you address the social challenges in our Cree communities, such as poverty, addiction, homelessness, violence, systemic racism, and discrimination, and prioritize justice, safety, and healing. What specific actions will you take to improve the mental health services for our youth, support those facing trauma and substance use, and prevent issues like bullying, abuse, and neglect? 3 minutes.
Miigwech. Stiga itaga no ha. One just megodation skmik. We know the reality in our communities. Each community is different. We see poverty, addictions, homelessness, violence, bullying, and the impacts that makes for our community. Too many people are suffering in silence. Have you, Chief, kay tabian at nahan? Job tem chedo. Yeah. Ega ji you booked master dog at goyo sniduds. Ega new not the morning do. We need space healings. Agana go ji niga guys booked master at kya mamu gay tabiat and the previous youth council. We work closely with Cree Help Board and Washkawi doing that create a program that is Cree led to help our youth, but also support families to break cycles of trauma. Oh, I booked Masjane and this. I'm near Nimsquatan, the Jiwi Changa dog house needs to bring the trauma services in every community, especially for our youth. They are suffering. They need our help. To provide also permanent funding for land-based healing programs. Because our cultural and land is part of healing in the process. Expanding community justice and programs so people are facing a lot of challenges aren't just criminalized but supported to recover and rebuild. How to prevent bullying, abuse, and neglect. I want a stronger collaboration between schools, social services, local governments, and the bands. Did you reach Shidogya? Did you reach Shidogya? Did you walk diagnosis in the warning signs in youth and families to get help early before it's too late? Yet, Jandetanano, a system, did you reach it? Jano, did you got skmiken here? Justice, safety, and reaching must go hand in hand. And with the right leadership, we can create a healthier and safer communities where no one feels forgotten.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your response, Sammy. Robin, I'm going to get you here. How will you address the social challenges in our Cree communities such as poverty, addiction, homelessness, violence, systemic racism, and discrimination, and prioritize justice, safety, and healing? What specific actions will you take to improve mental health services for youth, support those facing trauma and substance use, and prevent issues like bullying, abuse, and neglect? 3 minutes.
Miigwech Christine. Not na bega no it's gwech Jamon. But me think I'm she tak mi neo. Naska mango jitim share with man in 3 minutes. But nga good start. One of the things eg watman ot na hajanot yushji. Yeah, gnot mik. Tanis joy the conjish. What type of services are there? Check not make near those services. So one of the good there to improve week. Jim Hiken did when Jit got start on the services, Mubu on a service. So once I made the model up to go. And not make. So one missing get in that service. She is the gunjish share our communities. We chadoga in more. Student programs in each of the communities, and I love how unique they are. And they're really community-based. And it's always important to see those people that are trying to do programming in their community. To support Ingen have for us. Ingen jone mik. I did jano je daike jone mitaika. Nothing without us for us. He donut. Ingen nas jignot mik. Jano je chetanano e detak de wijit gut na how inushji. Jano je chetano the realities of Danish speak. Adagam said jone waptimik the chetanano. We know a lot that's going on in our communities. Actually, you cannot make some of the underlying issues too. The amudamikak. Stuff I'm talking about is a residential school gets it on jid bust my amutisk. It's hard to talk about it. And you cannot make all the other issues that are going on in the community with Nahawi speech. You cannot make how to approach these topics in a culturally safe way. Cha, jone mik. I teach you mam nete ano, you sheets dano. May magaji steno, moje stud man, squid chigo ena. Squid mam nete ano, dane uchik, dane out steak, and where we're going, and develop the service that way. Again, I'm not straight, like we're trying to really get all of this question, I'm trying to touch on everything, but poverty, addiction, violence, systemic racism, justice, did you prioritize justice, healing, and safety? And ways to improve the mental health services and how to prevent bullying and abuse, neglect. We have to go to the people. The people are the ones we're serving. Egen nasjek gnomaiket. Egen mug evidian mibet.
Migats Robin, Lyndon, Egnuhe Gagetsi Gwetstemon. How will you address the social challenges in our Cree communities such as poverty, addiction, homelessness, violence, systemic racism, and discrimination, and prioritize justice, safety, and healing? And what specific actions will you take to improve the mental health services for our youth, supporting those facing trauma and substance use, and to prevent issues like bullying, abuse, and neglect? 3 minutes.
Most time we're reacting to social issues without a real plan to establish it. And this has to change us. Nishtim got the first question. I a Cree-led organization, a Wishkad organization. Our own psychology graduates graduated that degrees. That's in the university. Like that study the systems we look at like who understand how like the policies the trauma and like a dike note, you know. This team would focus on social development, and it's important to have this like researching the causes they speak on or and the issues, consulting to our communities in the UST, like creating a Cree specific response on it, and STEAM notes should be the ones the solutions, we outside consultants. Homelessness, no good, it's real. Swab manos STEAM notes in our communities. Swab manos on the sky. Thousands of youths that are living in shelters, couches, in overcrowded homes, no one. And too many are falling through the cracks. We need to invest in emergency housing, transition units that wrap around the services that connect people to addiction treatment centers, mental health support, get the income assistance to establish something. Too many of our youth are struggling with trauma, substance abuse, mental health. The wait times are long. A mobile mental health team, Cree-operated healing and recovery centers. What the USG? We need to the response to bullying, abuse, and neglect. school community. We should have a trauma-informed crisis response in every spaces for youth and that. And if elected, I'll work to create a Cree-wide strategy for social wellness, STEAM notes. That's rooted in prevention, healing, and accountability, and that means more Cree people making sure to provide land-based healing, making sure that help is available. I would say to very quickly the cycles that we have. Thank you.
Miigwech, thank you very much, Lyndon. So, as I ni so sitten edis naskustaye 7 questions. We're going to take a 10-minute break. So, timer and Jason gets to be how. 2 categories as to now: culture, language, and identity, women, gender, and inclusion. We'll pick up from where we left off. 10 minutes. Pegunuyo hayo. Nation matstiuyo gwetstemun hayo nuka the categories hiskaga gadgets I just knoptung. Peguninyo said the lutung. Min I Spuitaika get the next round to go in and you questions. Muk four questions. So Njish Mamo 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 questions must each do okay. So and then the last question will be I had the closing. So say it's 3 minutes. All right. So we mean good statement. Agno nistum jen nasku stado yo I Sami. Culture, language, and identity. Question number 3. All right, Sami, what are your plans to promote and preserve Cree language and culture in our communities? And how will you strengthen the role of the Office of the Language Commissioner in that work? 3 minutes.
We got that way the tag in our language, it defines who we are today as you. Gado tiai ko the bad one. As no gun dabe, I went tag note. Yemun. Kinoxon. Dabe teni back to the gam, straight did you book the maswika? Did you no good take on him? It only son. You guys walked man, yeah, there you chief guys stand dropped in. How disconnected our youth feel from their cultural and language. We all knew it's not their fault. It's the result of colonization, residential schools, and modern systems that don't prioritize who we are. That's why we need to strengthen our language and starting, in schools, in workplaces, in our institutions. We need to create more opportunities. We tap madoga knew our elders usnijo. Did ye miangodonyuk chunyo? Did ye nistam did ye spint dadoge to your new doshimon out nononens? Mstam shayo chaino iskos with the bajumo. There weskets. Mstam skoyo. Our elders carry a lot of stories and teachings and a way of life. But if we don't act now, we risk of losing that knowledge. Our youth to our elders. Again, our communities. So that our knowledge is transferred through experience, not just by words. Mamu we chidwick, we know it no extion. Did you want get out when jit exodoga art programs, language, and land-based education. These are the programs that help our youth understand who they are. Tane de utstedo. Again yum shkunyu de utstedoga. That way tenga moj inuxchun did you not make did you eat chidwick swear. I good day,
Miigwech Sami. Gechi Gage, Robin, Hegno Head Jogon Station Naskustein. What are your plans to promote and preserve Cree language and culture in our communities? And how will you strengthen the role of the Office of the Language Commissioner in that work? 3 minutes.
Waswanapi. Egana Culture and Elders Coordinator in James Nation. Egana Inuituan, Inuyamon. Yeah, njit chino teach question then how my community can go up teach muka. Neg abatian, not mstiji the badgemot, chainod, chishquishet, ededo. My nastu yemuju sneegeorge, my nastu yemuju gawashudo. Actanid is shimsko taken hair. Amodako, Jiji, good steak at, Jiji, mamu beak, then how. Muktuane dud make. My idea snegad programming the duct, even informally educt programming in the cultural centers, in the youth center, in the schools. Shenanako. That was one of the things got me money, and then how my community I had to change positions was I got my community a grant to research our language. Did you cannot go tane duct, tane snacked, tane shimdo and jij, tane jish with shigwick, tane jishim shkumike with chishwick. I like near Joyo, Miosko, I cannot take no research is in that. Still take note. Dabei, that's Abstad was. That's Abstad Usnijo. That's Abstad adult. That's Abstad Getchino. Then how at home, Magde in the community event at all, Magdandemok. Egen Nastri Promotrika Jano is the use of our language. Agajiji my mic when we could study Inuit. Did you encourage your hike to Yemit? Did you make the strength did you could start? Ekaga miami dead to go, did you take me to the Skudomoik Jano? Jano then how miami she did. Again, I'm also dating. But again means that you cannot make a preschool board and she do more than how their classrooms. Thou elder in the classrooms as in communities. We chew at now, Muki Inuit. But my mukuyot out, share our responsibility in here. Inuiamon, Inuituan. Agmishkot did Scott Nails, I have the language commissioner. Did you we check it? Did you we chew it in different events? Nanako, more resources. Did you at neo Inuiamon Babambitat? Nanako is to take note. So again had Jamam need me get Jano. It's everybody's responsibility. Neo, ino yimik ino tuan. Agada miigwach.
Thank you very much, Robin. Lyndon, what are your plans to promote and preserve Cree language and culture in our communities, and how will you strengthen the role of the Office of the Language Commissioner in that work? 3 minutes.
Stik dagen as een EU yemon EU itogia. Ook dan go stick out. No, and hash out. It's who we are, and it's where it's gonna guide us. Then we do take in the stadium notes and then nicht stammt. And ook na Joey good steak, Joey mschku take ja, suk Joey EU yemik. Ja, jaimen we good stanga ne, but good stanga Joey yemyanga na shmsti and yeah the culture gets ook na as state act because ook ga dijkne weskit en msti hak ja bestano dan ga gezichtig dan der dijk noch en ook mag we good stanga we ga bost to guys goes it I in same as and they're in process ga yeah but she's the god ga we all got Cree language we don't get going. I know this is the Elders Council. Yeah, the Cree Language Commissioner. Yeah, the Cree Trappers Associations. We just got pushed out. It's going to be that. Hashas and wished out. They're in process. And our committees we got established Elders Council, Language Commissioner, and Cree Trappers. Tatums that's no yak. Tatums. They're our identity, the knowledge. Yads, get now EU Yamon in Anuit. Muin doy mazwayo, Jenigan Chicagots. Doy mazwayo, Jowijiga Bushtagots. Jowichi goods financially to protect ya, Zgoyo Edut Kozga. How can I Joey good stike ya, Joey expand Wika, Cree language, in the school gano. Hashi snagen der mug one period a mug class and agunag zewi school type. It starts from the pre-K and kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2. I would talk to Zidok Iunyamon. Did you channel on you wash it? Did you soak to Iunyamits? Because Niga school yan, shook Kriga, it's good Magunanda from pre-K to grade 2. Kag grade 3 got there, Kagats good Masuyanga French. And Hashag we do Ishnagunda to school and Gunot. And in get to Jim Squataika, the role of the Cree Language Commissioner. We chow to ensure because he had resources. It's why we make it because he abachistic the language all across what the USTs that includes the tools preserving our culture and language. It's how we move forward, and then in each time that we stick. Thank you.
Migots Linden, Ekumatsti, I had John Henry. What are your plans to promote and preserve Cree language and culture in our communities? And how will you strengthen the role of the Office of the Language Commissioner in that work? 3 minutes.
Nude, migus Christine, skut chedu en seat mit sega mod nistem. Skut stega iga ud yud becha su yud sozma. Mod nistem ga mutadagnos vi shon. Ogenewi, chica aptegnod na shigneitegnod you imun. Egutka uchit shbait. Ja, abetsion. Egutke mishtika dukzagon deji gnoptegnod dish ni stamt. Mugmak je iets chica. Serious jagon dan eitig jiska. Ep nauswich. Sir ne itaik ni andam egutet shbait. Em stuk simana nanos. Everything starts at home. Ogmo tsagon. Baba chik dano jano megojeb nausike. Dan you oi schwab mike. Sto shimno nes jushimsno dish ni stamts. Ogen tsagon. Msti heik jano kstun. Uni chigma magukamaga. Jungshima. Msti heik in kstun de dishitskut magic. Mswe much Sashu big new dragon guided Mswen Yaunio Abutunio Mswen Yaunio Xunioge that which is Gnoptechnio Msers and Dishni stamps Gnoptum Kergia that way Nashri Idnum Kergia we I go take steam one no Sashik Shibu to Jewy David see Michael W. Uji Dohino can you gan Skoda and Estinji. Skud majonio gani gansko. Estmagi utsos magi. Mamu ekstreji miko. Jagon sashi di chibitagnotska. Agamu guji gnoptum dan we swear to be snus higinogia and ishni stamped. Sash bat chibuyo. Dan and Jagon to reach shignot. Jiwash no mando. Sashwi. Ex netaxas. Get sash ex nasnaxke. Asim shti. Wemstuk shirimon. En oxent stashim no data do nestus simsnod. The gun stabit sion nano dawe. Mswe mamo. We mogen de taik. Ge GNG nagen gigantskat sion egnotignos. Tantke hyo eadox chunune stabit sionio jejis. Gnoptko jejis mskuk stado uyo utsti mono. Nestge iob mat sionge egnoptignos. Mswe dabskut ish we joto mukonyo. Dan you just msku taikut these knee stamps. Stay tagged that way. Mshauge habit soon. These knee stamps. Dan you should not them. Ashtig Chiano, dan you just be take. Good day, you guys.
Thank you very much, John Henry, for your response. Ekuhe mingudits I category women, gender, and inclusion. Question number 2. I nistums ganaskusta yo Robin. The 2S LGBTQIA+ community in Iuishti is growing, but also facing violence. How do you plan to address these issues, and do you stand in support of the Two-Spirit community? 3 minutes.
Miigwech Oga modegnot na 2S LGBTQ A plus modegnot. Egreshin de etni dayanga getni. And not daben support of how den jid when jid den how dadoga get to yo. Notice in Yemen or how you see matchinga dain den how my shewen jimi mug my shewen ni hatem dan 18 or danish matchin. But negash watamanga ni matchanga da you see Dwaptigon eshachigan. Dwaptigon the respect and we all get respect to higo joyo edutko. Ek nhega ge dabega sti nitskmut jidwan jid de dado. Oyeshe do dog no do. So me ashuga deksha amodmiko ha o two-spirited LGBTQ A plus. Nothing straight they actually jid when jid get we all. They're real people like us. Jano, we're all human. Egin snack na. Egin jo it's chiku amodamika that there's more and more people we dog coming out they don't know. We check it, support it, and it's cool. Because sometimes you feel alone in here. And I think it's important that we have the right support system in the communities. Tado wanjid in the game tado yam hado wayo. The core programs in place did you support wrong on jid wanjid. I made the money wanjid ebet yam hido. Ebet witmodo shachido. E witmodo nastre edim do joy dudmug. Migwechi shido nanaku joy mikmug. Esm show in shachao. Ut now I think there's more to do. Did you support Raikid Najid Wanjid 2S LGBTQA plus community? I think it's important that you include who I could get in the conversations and what they need support with. Did you gnotomika join go? What support do they need? Ekegim shewan did you do like Squel, Nabel, youth, children, elders, shewan did you mom de Mike at the same time. Egumagaidania, Migwetch.
Thank you very much, Robin, for your response. Next, delegate, I have Lyndon. The 2S LGBTQIA plus community in EUSG is growing, but also facing violence. How do you plan to address these issues? And do you stand in support of the Two-Spirit community? 3 minutes.
Yeah, so when we would go stop so I'll go to go because you be saying against and gas on you can show God's team notes to include everyone what the EU seats. So stand on EU statano from the inside, no matter who you are from the outside. And we have to be inclusive to treat them as one. And yeah, we go stop we shout Gim hisht mots. So you his be goods. Yeah, she's wrapped then up. So you got violence at the bullying at the yeah, I went and would they not. You know it's good magwika. You guys like our teachings not. It's about having respect to one another. Living in a balanced environment EU street. About recognizing then I go step when at that from inside or out. We need to recognize Swawan, include them everywhere as one ke. That includes our two-spirit people. Yeah, tugunas and dawzasan. Uksnetum jaga hagnodat, but we chanot. Msawas and zeno eo. Wiscon's good to do that on. We shout, Troyo ga we speak good. Troyo na show stitz ga, digzi I mut gats. Ja, sind doim na a stomp, bejuit mok, koi shagway mok. Like what I mentioned, it's important to include mswehwen EU doesn't general we cheat on nano. And we need to create safe spaces to support or in our communities I got you stages. I got you shagwayments or I got you judge hagnodats. Are we have now to good programs, schools, and events, the values? We were raised to love one another, to respect one another, and to be inclusive no matter who you are. And that's the kind of EU is the Cree Nation, the kind of Niganchkits to Bedayan.
Thank you very much, Lyndon. John Henry, the LGBTQIA plus community in EUSG is growing, but also facing violence. How do you plan to address these issues? And do you stand in support of the Two-Spirit community? 3 minutes.
Christine. Istum gaji dian mi dian kshon. Jiwi askan gwen, jiwi ke achu ji signom gwen. The point that they should ask is spiritually jogo chedo enji we david sim gonest. Musquis kun ji signom mat. Ke mo achu no chi demat. No smegod de biat. So the makan abitsion ignot mat. No jum chedo skund hebe ji dem gat. Ke we are no jum shti. Beju chigunant. Moi achu in signom mat. Yet the 20 it's same go. Ja gehio. Dan is net skeko asko. Moge begun zagon ni. Is ik stubit. Ja. Je dit stemmen gwen. I got you to die demag. Moge je die sat sig abet. Je die goed staan ge. Moes je mi we joke. Je dis same ge de dog ja. Gehui dan is ik stud dan is het state gehui. Met je zagoyo. The one that way, je dis het good magic. Je dis een sit stomach. Met je zagon mat siont. Dan is we goed wen. Dan te dat gewen. Ogen msti het good magic gadukt. De spejo dat. Chaim note, chum note. Moseji wapti gweke. Dan dis het stemuk wen. Yes, sige, weshiske. Je dan is het stemke. Ja, bet moes, je die nog tijken, die zat zeig wen. Ogen ze gaan, moet je dat doen, atje, gezien denken. Dan is het stemke wen. Dat was niks zonder die zich genomen wen. Dan is het dat zit, dan is het goed ge, ze gaan. Mogen je, dan is het schut, dan is het schut ge. We hadden die hem. Yet an ishiad ge gita itmonio, state monio ge. Ognio, to go in as just state of me. Minix son, archivity signob mugwen. Mugmag, a start state agon, this niche stamps. So en, did you me joke? Game said that you dabit sim dicke. So mamu did you but stunk did you mamu gabich, dann jagonish. A yaich, did you sweet hike steam nuts. I wish Pshat did you spit man.
Thank you very much, John Henry. Egono matsti when I Sammy je respondo to you. The question: the 2S LGBTQIA plus community in EUSG is growing, but also facing violence. How do you plan to address these issues? And do you stand in support of the Two-Spirit community? 3 minutes.
Be good, Christian. Ishtung aga we dang Skamone, there's Gabo Stod and Mugwen days Naxit, or Two Spirit people, and the 2SLGBQTQAI2. So Skamone. Shewen Niga Gashin Towden Ganga. The guy no Towie. Mugwen got basically limit guys from Townet. Mshen Jewitt, Moose and Jewitt Magwen to treat everyone equally. Mung days stand out dead now and Mshen one and it's come to go you. But Matt Shields, I got to say, Mike. Mugga Bab Koi Stoic now and or Wild J Mike. We might change our day, new day, new day, day. I'm sure I go in there. What's the new, no, the US cheat? Everyone deserves to feel safe and respected and valued in our nation, no matter what their identity or joy of go. But the snagging dabe, indeed, our two-spirit individuals, our gender diverse people face discrimination and also a lot of violence. Sometimes in our own community or family members. That has to change. John, no, we need to speak up to clarify on this. Nia, as Deputy Grand Chief, did you support Uhigo to develop a nationwide action plan to address the gender-based violence and discrimination? It needs education and awareness campaigns in schools and communities to challenge the stereotype and promote respect for everyone. Get just more of those safe spaces and supported services in our two-spirit people, whether if it's mental health support, cultural spaces, or crisis intervention. That way then, did we have a team doing about more? Did you guide to hike it? Did you be with because real solutions come from the people that are affected. Yum did me go you go. Mshewen's going to include the women, the youth, the elders, and our two-spirit people. We all need to take them on and down out against stone. As a leader, committing standing with them and advocating for their system, ensuring their rightful place in every conversation about our future. Good day. Me good.
Miigwech, thank you very much, Sammy, for your response. Kaya hasai het chi I hit the categories as chi gunhenano. We're gonna proceed to the another round. However, four muk skits ninyo your questions to goods. Okay. I'll pick one from my head the different categories. But there are some I have we ask some 10 questions. So as I semunano ga CNG I Grand Chief as we all nasku starts. So we're going to go back to governance and self-determination. Question number 8. I need them Lyndon Egonistum to respond to your question. What is your position on Bill 97, and how do you see it impacting Cree governance and jurisdiction? How will you protect Cree self-determination and our rights under the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement? And what role do you believe youth, elders, and local communities should play in responding to or shaping the bill's implementation? Bill 97 is a proposed legislation aimed at modernizing the province's forestry regime. 3 minutes, Lyndon.
Okay, yeah, I got like, I'm going to Nuchikan, we got Nuchikan, Schnagen, the cock, I know those Bill 97, and it's a threat. It's a threat to our agreements, JB and QA, and protected Statano. But Canada debate says so it's good stout shasha we mashed as now. I got do it to God to Jabach dog. And Agu Magu, it's just a tip of the blade, a good stats. Digi proposal does go, hash cat the gun. And it's gonna open doors for development. Go back to HSO. But it says go without full consent of our people. And it goes against Swedgon Kasainrik on JBNQA, what it stands for. And Niya Muin support on Bill 97. And the way it was brought up, yeah. You know, it's some sort of like a disrespect to our JBNQA agreement go stagnant. Jimashta dasan Nji nishtem ga neo ga ustad ga the JBNQA agreement, you know, and mshti jimashta the authority ga jiyaz our Taliban land users ga our local governance structure ga. And Augun mag as a deputy grand chief bitebiana gabat shistan to straighten and enforce the JBNQA. Gia paved the brabs gainano. To close the political loopholes that Quebec continues mugish taking advantage of us. Seitum dasan, the good loopholes and skutano making bylaws within the JBNQA. Mshti stano agreements. Bisag muy Isaac and openo jibano home. And Agum Hagui Gushtian, Jim Shkutian, to create those bylaws that we negotiated for, to establish them. I think it's important, Chash, to Jim Shkutaiku with the JBNQA. Ensure, yeah, the Ujigas DM notes, the Taliban, they're the decision makers. Tatum's us in to go against it when it comes to development, you know, what's the USC not? And we need to send a clear message. Quebec, Canada, no project is going to come forward unless STEAM notes say yes with the full consultations and consent and respect. Thank you.
Miigwech Linden for your response. The next person to answer is John Henry. John Henry, what is your position on Bill 97 and how do you see it impacting Cree governance and jurisdiction? How will you protect Cree self-determination and our rights under the JBNQA agreement? And what role do you believe youth, elders, and local communities should play in responding to or shaping the bill's implementation? Bill 97 is a proposed legislation aimed at modernizing the province's forestry regime. 3 minutes.
Remigatsa Christine. Mas good at say ten auga. Mosen Zagone, Ekaname weekend dish. Shagudzaga. Mushim Skustaika dish. We joe dika. Did you enjoy Quebec? Ogan Scamondish, you saw some no niai. It's that's just as on I'm snow snan so James Spain Scamon. I got Nash going who weekend. Wag mush. Yabage. We just not eat can eat them, can you? Then you wish around camps and who's week. Yeah, mush city. And such them hike, yeah. Sells them out. Quebec, next Canada, yeah. State Agon, the Dishigan them. That way, mush city, school staking you. Yeah, again, the winter shashnio. Then you shashkavage and boyko. And you know that or not. Until Chashur him hagnod to get heel yet. Nash Besha Jerry David Simagnod do heel. She doesn't have. As Squirrels Buyo. No rush good modes. Nash Besha Jerry David Simagnod do heel. Ogan adopted forestry regime, isn't it? Ogan most guys snagging. Yeah, just Jerry David Simagnod Donji. Danji, the Akko do heels. Do siot. Yeah, heels get Mammo Jish. We got bush take here. Then you date Kogia. Ugmag, the gun stab it sooner, Jano, Nigan Scatcher and Ignotum. Muskat die snakt. Im Schusteichen her, dann ist wie joy, Quebec. Sashri, mit der Bund, Sashi, die bei Judy, Mug the Green sits down that way. Gehui. Dann ist es steht act. Ni, Iamon, Io, Bedat, we get, dann ist im Hegud, dann ist stark Hogud ge. Dann der Weich punkte dat ge, die ist nicht stammt. Wo genopt genutzt. En du dacht du warst, Misti, da we, und hat statt Cherbio. Mistici da kogo io. Mugmag, so gut stano, dann die genochtem, dann der do, mistici heute dich. Misku steich. En er wie jou durch. Ook mooi je steekt acht. Deze genochtem niet staan. Moest je die daar met mij goed steam nood. Was ook die het nog tegen misti. Gehoor dan dicht hem hier goed. Ook die zou goed. Gab moet tegen sassen deze nee met no band deze dat. Mod niet stem. Gam snows na het skomon. We are just wat. Die besie genoeg doen hou. We are steekt daar neer. Mijn gaud in dorp mij goed moest. Dan is het dicht hem hier goed gehoor. We are dan stak hier weer toe. We schweren Quebec gab moet dat. Good day. Me good.
Thank you very much, John Henry, for your response. Ekumi Gutagwenhe, Sami, Egunyabazuhe Gwetstemun. What is your position on Bill 97, and how do you see it impacting Cree governance and jurisdiction? How will you protect Cree self-determination and our rights under the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement? And what role do you believe youth, elders, and local communities should play in responding to or shaping the bill's implementation? Bill 97 is proposed legislation aimed at modernizing the province's forestry regime. 3 minutes.
You got Christine. Niga, as a Tallyman, a youth chief, and the candidate for Deputy Grand Chief, I want to be very clear. Bill 97 is a direct challenge for our Cree governance, our rights, and our self-determination. This proposed legislation would expand the provincial's control over their forestry channels to our land, while ignoring the spirit and the intent and the legal strength of the James Bay Northern Agreement. It attempts to modernize our forestry without respecting our Cree authority, Cree consent, and our traditional governance on the land. That's not that's unacceptable. As a Deputy Grand Chief, I'm school we book the we Tallyman and our people. Our defending our jurisdiction over territory is guaranteed by our treaty. Our governance over our land enforced cannot be dictated by the provincial policies made without our consent. As Deputy Grand Chief, Gamastan Moose, in any decision that's being made in the USG. It must be respected with the JBQ and our heritage rights and our governance structures. But protecting our rights also means involving our people directly, whether if it's youth, elders, and also believe that Tallymen must be the frontliners of any bill, especially Bill 97. Janu, as Tallymen, are protectors of the land and see firsthand of the impacts of forestry. Yet, youth and elders, our youth, the political and the environmental impacts of this bill, because they are the future. Elders carry the knowledge for them. And Niget, Bitebiane de Dishnachka. We know good that the Abbey diagnosed do it, we bet out do it, we bet Mark Hignano the Jeep, Master dog, the Jeep, beach dog. Jano Master again had the duet, we go to pass the Jebio, we go to talk nano. But this has to stop. But I will stand for that tisha juit maat no. Agade migwet.
Miguel, Sammy, for your response. Matsti, I hear Robin. What is your position on Bill 97 and how do you see it impacting Cree governance and jurisdiction? How will you protect Cree self-determination and our rights under the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement? And what role do you believe youth, elders, local communities should play in responding to or shaping the bill's implementation? Bill 97 is proposed legislation aimed at modernizing the province's forestry regime. 3 minutes.
Miigwech, Christine. Nhega amudegnot Bill 97 is effective weekend and how Jano are modernized now the forest regime. Danish bitagnot I stuck agno magnot. Sidgone bitagnot. Skam yasu dex chait me get Jano. Join hound here. Jano is should the sim nano. Jano dwids nano with how we know our land see the tako, daisnako. And that is pictured on a dakuik Jano directly. Skam yasu right away did you start that process did you protect we week Jano used to. Join na how mistake. Yeah, I'm saying that JB and QA, I got do the agreement and share all the other agreements that follow that agreement. Just some cheat the one agreements. Did you respect Nanokom Shane? I don't know if you know, I think there's more than 70 agreements since Den Haga sign on Nanot. Oh, yes, that's good. Mein Hans, that's good, yes. But shit is not taking a corneo. Dan how is it's their corneo, those agreements. Dan there is protect week neo. Shen anaku is bill. Zigonotomic, how it affects us in Bill 97. Dan is in smik, dan is dakuik dex. And that dakuike, Jano is the our jurisdiction, John dud mik Janot na how used to. Negaji donut, nothing for us without us. I can have mod a shoot nak Jagon. Might got dud magnano and edgegoyo. I got Jano it would make. I got include beforehand. Mogish Mbitado ya, I do to go. State agon, I got me amated winner. State agon, Mogui, winner, I got Mbitat neo. We all, mam name Shuda. I got mam name Adonio, the tallyman, the youth, the kids, the elders, the people that use the land. I can miss Bill 97, I cannot take note. We should oppose to it if it affects our rights. I can just cannot make him say on a babit no matter what it is. Our language, our culture, our land. It's the same thing with the language law. Did you protect Wishwik? We always have to protect what we have. Thank
you very much, Robin, for your response. Ekumingudit's category, Eganoha health and well-being. Question number 10. John Henry Nistam Tkanaskustawiyo. Burnout and staffing shortages are affecting frontline workers in many essential services, including social services, community support, youth protection, and more. What is your plan to support these workers and ensure they can continue serving our communities effectively? 3 minutes.
It's Christine. State agan up matsian ga gnotam ke tandish up matsika wish nadam up matsian ke magan ji deitam ga hyan ji ga bet sik tkoge tangi bash gnotagnods mi up matsian ke hyoge wi sik sinian deitam moi mogan ji iuds sirs and deitam when me not 6 senior. Et do jeji. Mio buit ge. Tu gnio ge dawe. Tigad enu te bich is nachtske. Mui tigji dano mug big. And when naganskek nest mio mat senior naganskek jeji begukek. Uge agnotignot. Mystiers and stereo would stis ge. Jano at hiu sit. Dan is een dag tax. Die is abet zich tegenover deze niet stand. Moet je moet je bij go komen. Als het stereo moet je gaan daar die is. Maar moet je ook stonk ze maar moet abet zich tonke. Dan in Japan was je moet de dag deze niet stand. Die is. Het snaik maar moet naike. Schijn ge die is. Dag tax. Misschien maar moet je maar stijg ge jano. Je moet de dijk niet uitgooien. Dan is boek 70 dan je juist weet je die is dus niet zo ge. Om je op maat zien en nog. Het is meer bij ze deze niet staan. Moest katje je moet dan je juist. Na de maat jouw die tekst. En mamu hebben zich tegenover te gaan. Zeg dagen daarbij. O is pshado je zich. Moim so en die todum msti no te buurt na gedes wanneer habit seda en is de tax te wanneer is moet dan het asko moet zeggen dan hou je dat ko asko moet deksie moet dat dan je is de tag niet zo nest dan is boek zegt met je die moet dat als het zo de is niet stand je genoegd dan het eigenlijk is which Chaburga, Danton How, Mahmoudji, Abbot Sikh Tongsagon, Mahmoudji Jodig, Mahmoudji but Snowke, Dani Sheikh Kson, Nest Shiange, Danton How, Gipshin de Taxet, Mishti, to get the Gunzagon, that is Ishignotum Nistant, Mugmag, to create the Anno, Mr. Mamo, that we all we David Sing to okay, that which is schnacked, this Nistant. EU did you tweet good. You mats uniot. Migat.
Thank you very much, John Henry, for your response. Sammy, burnout and staffing shortages are affecting frontline workers in many essential services, including social services, community support, youth protection, and more. What is your plan to support these workers and ensure that they can continue serving our communities effectively? 3 minutes.
You got Christine. Daarbij werd nog een burnout and staffing of shortages again notes us across the USG. Dat was de maasnagen, but niga is wat man. Stuur die dagen ja, staat zo no. Je daarbij checken. Wat het moet dan daarbij checken. If you're from maintenance to janitor, mug din dapat sa duwan na. Straight day tayo ganun, dapat sa duwan. Dapat mes tax would get you dapat sa do. Mistam you dapat sa do. I will always have respect to the people that are working hard. And we still have to move forward. But before moving forward, get nistam sa isu lot ignos. We mam niten get you. Cheese match you and then it is you eat she do and it mega de with cheese get you. Ninga globum son. Here before we she go and Nina globum son. Got you eat cha. I did eat mamma go watch him again. Yeah, you hig. The band met the band sent the job magone, the sharp dish cook. I got the Muga, I got him hig. Motion dim howan. Mind the bam shin the Jim Higgation Towden ya. Niga is wat man mo gayim higo na nimiten edis cheat man niga edi wapag na wan but nji dapat sisut date modes get your help. They need the support, they need their input which we bet on they need a plan, a comprehensive plan, workforce strategy that you ujit frontliners that you no needs get that way. Get the job mouth big or oten jis, because he's got game modern ha. Eji Duarte kan yun singaso na dim gujbuita ya. Eji wit mag chels makan. Eji bedwit bod as retire. Jimmy bod yung gabet sit jiwa jema new egg. Eji wab mag new eji bet sit. You know, and jij jema no sit ya bet sit. And we need to hear these people no shishka but do get in jibede star to have a plan to reach Hangado for their education, for their job. You get nishtam says a lot of things. I got wait and the whole nation will suffer. But I want to make sure that the G dog and the good which the G need which you Aguda.
Miigwech, Sammy, for your response. Eko Mingudik, Eko Robin. Burnout and staffing shortages are affecting frontline workers in many essential services, including social services, community support, youth protection, and more. What is your plan to support these workers and ensure that they can continue serving our communities effectively? 3 minutes.
Miigwech simong gayain. Negaya mo demin hay burnout, short staffed get and then how akagas psedo onji de abit sto ga. Inga ni nursing student and dan Davidson Hospital, Davidson Nash Hospital in Montreal. Again they got skudmashian ga waptaman first hand and guy snack then how Jide abit sto, dice abit sto. Nodm shayo Davidsino. Nasam chi do dmut then how did you eat shishko? Some nurses, some people that are in the health staff have up to 8 clients in one day. That means 8 people nagatchouch. These are nurses, these are people supporting you, PABs, isingashouch. Njit wenjit juit shigut and then how. That's one example of the different aspects of this question. Yeah, short staff at it. Jano gyot na yushi we're short staffed with nurses in our communities. Good style that we have it so asku I mean you and ji de babu do we dog out na how did you but abit so yeah nas atu de tagnit. But msiga yim he go not meet mo de abit so na how. Meet mo how welcoming we are. Meet mo ebet ju de we do. Meet mo de meet so na how. Shukun sim ganani there. That's one of the things that we have to consider, Jano, is like we need to provide services to debrief our staff. The people that are doing frontline work, I as a person that has been working community service my whole life, for the people. I've had 1 or 2 burnouts in my life near. And one of the things that I would love is more breaks even for people that are in Cree help or did you snack cultural leaves did you cannot take note in here. Did you make no dog get to your so I know it's an organization, it's a Cree organization, did you cannot make in here. I mean when did you provide support and funding to people that are trying to make a difference? Ask who my special Ask my special way we abit can then how. Did you we check it did one day we table on then how. And the other thing too is we talked about housing. Did you make it enough housing yet we all? Oh they when we abit sit in our community, my no house. As I get cheat. But my no housing for the people. Like Miss you cannot make us there how to support the people that are wanting to work in our local communities and how we can do that. I can ask you that me also cannot make them share.
Thank you very much, Robin, for your response. Linden, burnout and staffing shortages are affecting frontline workers in many essential services, including social services, community support, youth protection, and more. What is your plan to support these workers and ensure they can continue serving our communities effectively? 3 minutes.
Opting yeah ga campaign yeah so I took the time to see he got stab a chag notes. And that's why that got youth protection, social services. That's why in the got. Mshti mag youth magot. Mshti na she speak goods. I got yads that kind of support. We all get we cheese was get. And mshti no gonya the burnout yads. Mshti as in we chaz waya. Mshti their clients. And mshti magi de tagan agan. We try good as it. Indeed, go we chat steam no. We all got some getting it scones. So why you a better cuts. Start she got muy yards where you then the jigzin dog mats, jigzim hats. Agan mag joey nando itom. Jigzi we try good as it. Ujid sabat chagan notes. What guy abat sits. To give him a fair, yeah, and to have a program, as you mentioned on Obega, in the one of the previous questions, yeah, to create a Cree-led sociology, yeah, indeed, sociology degrees, yeah, you wish take an organization. You develop which own centers EUST. So obtenos has create por nas overload yas cases. But yaike hago which own centers mshti wan jiwi channel. It's gonna ease down the Cree help port their clients. Kya huzi Cree help port yabat frontline workers. That center which own center jibsin do optoms. And we develop programs like that in every community niche. And we need to improve the working conditions. That, like the caseloads, outs per and it's why we have a to provide a proper team support and making sure so our frontline workers to be involved on it it's why always goes day to day. And we need to treat them with respect. Our frontline workers are carrying alone and doubts. And I wouldn't make Joey Guchtian which own centers frontline workers.
Thank you very much, Lyndon, for your response. Ekumi Gudit's category, Jagnoptum, economic development. Question number 9. Sami, what kind of jobs and training programs will you create to reduce unemployment and help Cree youth enter the workforce with pride? 3 minutes.
Be good, Kristen. Niga is a economic development. It's a window for businesses. Did you reach Hangadog? It's creating opportunities to empower our own people while protecting our land as EU. From economy. In our environment, sorry. Niga ditchkut masuna musun guitene get the gaspad gaskunas gaze di stang and project management. Steen ditchkut magunen he mus gainanska the tukska emiango and did you support hanging to create entrepreneurs through businesses. Again, the training, especially finance, mentorship. Musun guitene did those courses. Did you make did you allow the opportunity? Did you get to call you? I got nas. You got nas. Did you get to call you their business? Did you get started? Did you book the Macedonia? RBQ guys and guys it. Because I'm still going to I'm not most good RBQ. You can support your business 100%. Cree business owned did dux. The most hag no we then and did you dux and through education and did you myanga dog get the apprenticeships and the leadership development did you dux did you myanga dog full economy. But above all, economy development must be respected. In any development, you know, whether if it's land, water, and our rights. That's the kind of balance Niga did you must stand. An economy that is strong, is Cree-led, and built on our values. Together, I'm saying, Mam will be the the opportunity indeed the business entrepreneurs. Don't bet all dead one. I might me go and have might you booked my son. Did you eat among the joy? Got you booked my son. And trainings, I mean, like, we are here in our own Cree territory. Yes, get good my week to go. Yes, the gun the challenges. Did you book my week? I get the join. But there are challenges along the way. I most split. But we are here together. Did you reach the mamum? Whether keeping our language or again, the land users said you but this unemployment the Jewish China and it's mamu bike get booked Macedon and it's entrepreneurs full Cree owned Canada.
Thank you very much, Sammy. Robin, what kind of jobs and training programs will you create to reduce unemployment and help Cree youth enter the workforce with pride? 3 minutes.
Miigats, Christine. I'm with the make the different kind of jobs and trainings that you make with that USG. Not shout what you do make. Shooks West Dano, we're always building. We check it against when their business get out and how supporting local businesses. Again, to also is snacked gap. We check it and even building the capacity. First, our businesses, they're still starting out. They're still trying to implement themselves and get all the equipment they need to call it different jobs, the bigger jobs. To find support in then how we do to go that type of work. We check it to expand their business. We check it with training people locally. Indeed, our vocational centers all over USG, did you have it stake? All the trade skills, have it stagnant. Did you do content how? Again, and that Chesapeake Apegnot is college. Did you know what type of programs did you do to content how? Did you me up to now USG? To support those organizations, programming, and figure out joy in Noktadot how. That's one way to reach Haikid Wenjij. But there's also another way, mentorship. Mentorship when it's good mogno joyo, we good start. Sometimes people need that little push. To good start joyo without having qualifications. The chetko mate go and joyo dot go. Egmiji Wenji to reach Haikid. Chetko mate go to the dido way of support he go do, danejate do. Dexiji yado the certification joyo dot go. Again, I mean, could it on jam need to make out now use G channel. Yeah, the different types of jobs we can create with how. Net tourism. Tourism with how meet mood when you the Bamboy do. The culture and elders coordinator gadayan. Not seen to about when you the Judebi do, a Guajum do. So when you Tian, da when you Bamboy heat, da when you up to you to go. Minus to go nasko. Programs or services like that. Egonjit wenjit in the bush garado. I mean to con that yaitado. Tiji do to coneo. It's a job for them. Tiji bitado stuff like that. Enga Jamie sheet get is support I could wenjit yaitadoneo. There's so many different ways as you support I could wenjit in EUSG economic development economic. Shed economic, then it is we check it and shed in on nanot. Migach.
Thank you very much, Robin, for your response. Lyndon Egun Gagechi, what kind of jobs and training programs will you create to reduce unemployment and help Cree youth enter the workforce with pride? 3 minutes.
It's a good question. Our entrepreneurs, they're the backbone of our communities. We all mishti because you have a child to stay him now. Mishti is a guy who don't. They could build the local economy. Mishti could shibiyo. Because you wished out jobs and because you back, give back in to the communities to show their appreciation. We do those business. They're helping our communities grow. Our local entrepreneurs. They're helping our community. But it's going to speed note. We're not doing enough to support them. Too often, our local companies, entrepreneurs, are being pushed aside by our local development corporations. That one, we control that, sweat every contract and every opportunity in our communities. Our entrepreneurs, they hire locally, and it's going to increase the employment. We try to our entrepreneurs. More local development corporations because you hire our entrepreneurs doesn't get the opportunity to grow, to sustain the economic development in our communities. Our own people, our own entrepreneurs, they need a chance. They deserve to get access to contracts, to training, to these good mods, their employments, to have opportunities, competitions in the Haikot. With tourism, that's another thing. We haven't really opened it yet. And it's a small business, but it could be big. It's an idea. Like example, we opened a park with Mr. And that thing is going to increase the tourism. It's going to increase the economy of Abidot, Mr. Sneak. And ich nach da gegen Satan EU seat. Mstig we chigano. Mstig a babio shuyan. The outside. We EU is spend shuyan. Wants to choose a besho shuyan. And mag supporting businesses, local businesses is good economics. Let's build the economy what the US seat that reflects Wendy Zeno and how it's going to benefit our communities.
Miigwech Lyndon for your response. John Henry, what kind of jobs and training programs will you create to reduce unemployment and help Cree youth enter the workforce with pride? 3 minutes.
Miigwech Christine. Is ga bisagan hega iskwets jamwi. Stam teach going with beat debu dan we swear ya di sweet madanga. Nishtam ji kaya aptam ka when jano ga you it's gonna sich pakane buhit sich yanas og modzagon spa ji kaya tagan and eben buhitay that ji sich abetsion di tukska. Nagdech samui bichtebu the bajmon de usiska dan en zagon saspe mihignot de nigat skatjans de en EU sjojma abetsion egnot. Asta steitagen dan ga etuksen dis. En mag zagon ga is bukseit mangen in deze niet stamt. Dan you EU sas dan het adam se EU's. Dan is six sudad nest eben bucht adani gemam sit da benask je nest mstugnabe dat ook niet zo goed je in dat zechtem ke die stiga aptem knyo ke je gnochtem dat how je we chai could die EU je Chicana Hagno Donish, Miagno Donio. The Gamson Higan, Eado, Dabahich Nash Donio, Daninu Essex Donishim, Stuganabel Dogi. The gun, Mr. Jagoychi, Gnotum, Jin System Hagno Dogi, Nest, G Company said the do, Jin Sistekoge, who Daninu is in date Axagon, and again, Abbotsion Agnotignos. Danu ge Jiu New Dabbit Chagano, Shashe Odo, Dantne de Tagniji, which Hagniske. Nwes Chagon Egnotumke, the star Mishti, Chicken de Taganige, which Shixion ge Yemon, Mishti di Chetkoge, you done a speed and how, Magdeshe Mbuiso head, Uga Abbotsion Agnotignos. Gemag Danton how it's good Majon and they taxga. Mishtis get beyond the Shnish Stamsga. That way, he date them get Uga Giano, Juno even Buhitswi, the Shnish Stamps. Ogan Jagon, Jerryot's Tamuk. To get a good Northiano where wait, Swear, Mamo, Dante Taik, Dante had the Dodi Jim School Stike. Jim School Gabwick, he used H. That way, JG, and sit stacked, Sash Pakan, even by his week. Miigwech.
Miigwech, thank you very much, John Henry, for your response. This next question will be the last one, and it's going to be on land, environment, and rights. Question number 16. First person to respond will be Robin. What steps will you take to secure long-term funding and build Cree capacity to manage protected areas? 3 minutes.
Miigwech, nega gnotegnot nha protected areas. Dan is gnotegnot long-term jignetegnot. Agnesum see the one steps edodegnot nha protected areas we snack taika different areas in the USG. A communagan dabwe. Can make sure now to see Dudmiko this work. Not just straight tagon to protect tweak different areas in the USG. I got to do that negnot. Is snacked, is munagat and then how. Again, then how they gonna take note the historical sites. Not how. Nastrade tagot janot na USG. Shares nan ako dawan in each community. Danish nagnikon their historical sites. We all have them for a reason. Join it nastrade make. Either from Westgate then hagas matsigwik, whenjit matsida, kap matsigan then how magigide whenjit ka midu hito do. Yeah, and then how HP do. So it'd be good to look at what ways did you secure the funding. Yeah. So what's one way Jano but next shulao? Was there any other way Jano did you secure funding from alternative sources? So it's always important to build our capacity to manage the protected areas in our government. Develop those departments and support the ones that are already doing the work. I got mokchano kaya jeb mikmikya. I tell you which hacket can do and ask him on that file. They don't working in silos, a big shinga but shin then how. Did you want me get done 18? How to work with all the different organizations to protect our lands? Jano big neck Cree Nation government at the ano, but that other organizations say we chiwedo. Did you know my kid then how did you switch quick? How can they help us to the daycare? Enga mi also they cannot make then how did you cannot make a dex that is protecting our lands and to expand our protected land gear is still gotten dish. Miigwech.
Thank you very much, Robin, for your response. Lyndon, what steps will you take to secure long-term funding and build Cree capacity to manage protected areas? 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna sheesh demarcation again in the protected areas. So got look at question and I'll get Joey Nando Tonk and then this mistake to tackle the land claims Staats Quebec once it Quebec debates so they are so easy to access. And I'll get Joey Nando Tonk and then she mistake ya I got more claim on another claim to deduct development. And we have a channel as an Uji Cree Trappers Association, Tallyman. Satum doesn't still seem no mute satums. And the problem is the land claims it's time you know we protect we because Sash claim more Quebec debates so more to develop more to do man's land. Like example, in Guyam Woodman hydro development, future hydro development projects. In do the Maudas, Cheo is Tallyman, protected area, Gabambit, Creation government. Machine needs good master, machines you opt in, so you Nashiga non stock no dot. And we need to have something that general knowledge to even be take to. EU is even be tas. One stuk shoot job was a consultant said that. And I was in a Zoe Nando Tonk, Zeno or Talymans, do you have a chikot? We move to God Jamaikot. So we have a channel as an oil, so we do don't. Get who with the funding and on. We need to find a solution where we can get long term funding. And we make one time project at the Degnotzga. Kashnak Tasko, one time project at the funding. But we just not wait and know that's gonna go years and years, because you like that funding to continue to protect these areas, and it's time they're properly to supported and funded to continue protecting it. And we must squid monots, DM notes, then they got to see manage with that and to monitor the protected areas. That means investing in so sneeze them not to chain them nuts to get squid madzets. Get the Creek Guardian program to like to chain them nuts as some stage with chick nuts, Talymans, Scoigan, Scoy Nasha, and Nasha, it's state that the CUSC no. And how good Mark Jerry good take like we need to protect our lands, and it's important. Very
good, Lyndon, for your response. John Henry, what steps will you take to secure long-term funding and build Creek capacity to manage protected areas? 3 minutes.
Good, be good, Christine. We am straight to go you. You get style, you charge them out. Yeah, we will get big, sneeze out, we should not get stuck. As I could do it, but said you can autumn, can you go big, then they should get tax, see, then they should get up to nothing, they sneeze stamps. See, I show me I know deck. Did you get up to the note, you show me I know, would you do so can you get Scotto? We still mean and come on. Dan Sash, a beetje moeten diagnosen deze. You, a Jim Snow, so a real man stuck in the wind backed, a gnop to the work. As which we gave you. Gee, do he know her, can you answer Scott? We are the Jimmy Agno Dodges in the Nugget Stadonia. We all at state comes tea. We all get Neander May our doms tea had said me to you. Sear a gnop to the needs. Yet and be signated a no get. Ik neem maar nooit de wesjes. Je go, dan heb je het nooit. Zie je, net in de biege, dan heb je het nooit. Als het gebeurt, dat je geen autumn kan hebben. Dan je dat wel zijn mij. En je kan niet gaan schade doen hier. Zoals je ziet, als je meer dan dat best zo wel. Kijk hoe dat je moet dat doen. Ik denk dat je spreekt. Het doet steam in. Zullen jou dat je het snel nooit hebben zien dat je die toxic. Get good Majan, get it took nation stamp. Get who you Ginger no take Sasha double J. My couldn't you. Sashwish Stia say to Monio, 사실 분부히 추어지게요. 사실 시티 야우지 분부히 다도게 실례요. 여기 타금 시티게 제 지와시 베이트 헤게게 사실 제 다보제 마이크 나기도 왠지 우여지지 분부히 다도지고요. 애가 뭐 무시지 신학 주의 이웃 세우지마 제지 분부히 다지고요. 위인데 제지 웃는 나게 스타. 다근 뜨건 다we 단데 제지 웃는 나게 스타. 단데 제지 좋아위 치외되게 뭔가 샤긋 샤슈치지부요. 제지 아쇼미agno 위 진도 히노카니 간치고도 스테이타그니요 오다베치오노 스티게 뜨그니요 단지 비신나게 스타우스 다니오니요 우요 에시 스테이트고 샤스 니오게 후에요 해야도 나심 스티에 스테이트미스 에그노트그노 치 네비 에스게 후에시 셰그노마드 에그데 미게츠
Amigos, thank you very much, John Henry. Ego matsti when he jenaskustad ego he Sammy. What steps will you take to secure long-term funding and build Cree capacity to manage protected areas? 3 minutes.
You good, Christine? Ask one, let's see when. You got statement, yeah, protecting our land. It's not about declaring protected areas. It's about making sure we have resources and the capacity to manage themselves for generations to come. Indeed, the household. The good department said, "Reachidwik ya mamu, mush mamu did reachidwik to secure the long-term funding. You guys Guatemalan to have a stronger, guys Jim Squatai ko yuman." Give bedayon konen yimon de dim shkotek for our agreements. Get the Quebec and Canada debate Jesu or the international partners announced. Yeah, to make sure we invest in protection of EUSG, that there are funding that needs to come with week. But Niga, it's a Cree-led, Jano stewardship fund, a dedicated and protected fund that ensures stable and long-term investment into management of protected areas and environmental research and monitoring. Did you reach Dano stinim no we could build the capacity that means our training. Stinim no get land users, get namskujma. Did dado new? We all get did you have a chango don? Did mego de mayim nani jiga. Stay mano indeed our Cree professionals with their specific skills get. Did mano this? Us no gun get. Our traditional knowledge can be managed, especially with these areas. I got the gaga. We am say. But ni mush ni mubita doyo de jibumbekon get the ujmakans get a dagado get in the schools and the Cree Health Board that to ensure that the land protection is there, but also the connection with health and education and cultural. At the end of the day, protecting the land is Jano Stinim no. I know it's from the JBQ&A. I'll make sure with everyone that's going to be supporting me that our nation, and that we are fully resourced and trained in leading that our own very own terms.
Miigwech, thank you very much, Sammy. I'm going to have this last question, and it's the closing remarks. Lyndon, as we close, what are your final remarks to the people of EU Inuit, and why should we place our trust in you and vote for you as our next Deputy Grand Chief? 3 minutes.
After this election, this campaign, the trail that I've been on, And Shashka Mistisnitan, and these are one of the final stops. And exactly 1 month ago, Jesus campaign says speak started. And Shashag, we're near at the finish line, Shash. And running for Deputy Grand Chief, it's been one of the greatest honors, in my life. Into this campaign. Dehi Jabachap. And Shite Gaitean along the way, Stingy remind you he to go as she choose this path for our youth, for our elders, get our families in the future of EUST. To every community that welcomed me. I'm so hungry about what woods and the ideas and the encouragement that I've been getting. Me street to shape the vision gas EUST and education like to grow. As a candidate, but as a father, as a son, as a Cree leader, and as someone committed to God's theme notes with purpose and heart. And to the youth, your voice belongs at the table. Keep stepping forward. To change notes, your guidance, your wisdom is our foundation. That you carry the teachings of our people. And to our workers, community members, and families, that holds up our nation. To respect and you guys are valued. And the challenges, long nights, conversations, doubt, campaign, and to my fiance, my family, Nui Joggins, Steams, me quested your patience, and for standing with me, and to my fellow candidates, I wish you all a respectful outcome. We've each had the honor to not start good steam notes, no matter the result. And now, as we enter the final stretch, we steam notes that I ask for your support, your trust to serve as your Deputy Grand Chief. I do not take this responsibility lightly. I am ready to do Jabachishmanzgan. Jabachishmanzgan for the future of our people. Your voice matters, your vision matters, your vote is going to help the USG. No matter what happens, I will continue to serve and advocate the fight for a future that reflects and values our dreams. With deep respect, Migwets
Linden for your closing statement. Jige, John Henry. As we close, what are your final remarks to the people of EU Inuit, and why should we place our trust in you and vote for you as our next Deputy Grand Chief? 3 minutes.
Christine, istem gajidian se naskam dagat se de twenji kan het skogonde EU towns. Diwanji gani ganskeko usnijud cheud. Söna naku wenji si betadno yen meetenergy netskadugut. Umagen diske is gnotman is ni stamt. Moinix sonje dugut ni tan bejum snowso. Mugji jesnat Gdi desnat eiteno. Sas Gdi dabo zemenog sas ni ganskadugut. Ye asin DS screen. As we skid die bij die screen. Ik ga jagen dish. Streg hij deed hem hier aan. Ze na de gaboest maken hier die goed staan. Ze die niet gaan schaderen. Deze dat. Die te gaan gaan niet. En gespet moet hij aan. Moet moet je dit nou. Gebied channel. Het goed masian. Gebied channel abetsion. Dat we snaaks zeggen niet. Sas dit iets abetsion. Sas dit zich man. Het zo is as we abet man. Deze niet stamt, die Schweiz schierig. Tant ja, deed meer. Mocht ik die desna deed en oge. En ze gaan, stad mocht dan, moest hij die dat zuchten man. De zo nog towns. Dat we dat je best nog heet. Deze niet stamt. Moe, Wimstuk shield. We at the Baskunzet, as a Sam Chadol, Stabich Hanod, Wimstuk shield. We all, ebe ju ishwa to God and how, to be Mutano to Gadish Nacht. As to go buyon he. As me, it's about snagging. With Neo, we mode so. We dan de white t-shirt, sassing a bit snacks at the eo and they should that. Mchadol, guide nagipsit say tax at the eo. Muslim stiji yaw neo. We it's no t-shirt. Oh, just what the West Beacon t-shirt. We, Jibizum t-shirt eo. Ogan Jagon, Nash, just state him here. Dan and Geo, a swap at Meg. Dan and Geo, I spits Meg, steam one or. CNG beten. Mas good and bad you stand, Miss Negan. Nasga, Mr. Jagon, Imson man, and I speak with Mweg. Uma say Dan, and ask Mount Chemendo. The better name Gatum, sir. Would Kaduxniat. Yet under a dictatske. Mstin and ask Maui. We modes Mstin and ask Maui, the better name Gat. Yeah, Jim mean good goods on ask Mugo. No, he's Magan Nan, do a shimnant. I speak with Gabustagas. Uma stede dian mugaji spiga. Yabit in the book Satan. Msred Jewish Amgat Linden Nishgabude. Agde Migat.
Thank you very much, John Henry. Sammy, as we close, what are your final remarks to the people of EU Inuishji, and why should we place our trust in you and vote for you as our next Deputy Grand Chief? 3 minutes.
Miigwech msön ganstagat unjis and miigwech JBCCS go live debate for the people that are not able to get the diksendo now or that the baboy do. Number 2 is moose mix riang they is the badjamian English I would stand or Cree. It's came out so it's I got not sense it's going to him needs. I gonna bus 28 system he go yeah but we got go yeah. That their voice matters. But today I stand here as a not just as a candidate, but as a Taliban, a youth chief, and also a father. And someone who really loves being in the bush and working directly with the people. Jin tawden gun, ne dui, jibet skid magun, and he's down in the bush dan. Get moose, good Sudan, dan it dan. Oh my God, that's moose nijan. Throughout my leadership, whether on my trap line in the streets, in my community, or at a national level, I've seen strengths in the challenges in health, education, social justice, land, and governance. Muskan do no tanga we have changani, we chigo and jit mug da we dabit sido and jits. Ik moest is oge boektmaasjane daarbij snakte. Ik moest deze glaubensvergange that you reach go and it's I got not to look over above them. I know in leadership it's about being there, you know. It's not about just being in the office or meetings. It's about showing up and listening to the people, being transparent. Making decisions that are right to protect our rights and our lands and our future. Egin gya nish it's good man gya. Egin nish da boy tamani. Niak da boy snakche jibite biat. Mus gan skubon ji da boy jit man gya don da chan. Mus jo apti go den gya. Me go de wash chan ji bam boyan gya did you am going jit. In every community or in the land where you sham gana. It's just to go in here. And every decision where I am going to be, that future holds, decided. Job man that cheskus, and the Bambian, Jiwitabo. My damn it, oh my God. It's been a great honor and a great experience. Most good Kunanduan Gabajim Kaimstaman, especially for the youth, the women, and the elders. Because that's what represents me. And I ask for your trust because I've done the work, I've stood with the people, I will continue with integrity, honesty, and respect. Together, we can protect what we've inherited and build what our future generations deserve. Stiano de Custonano, Stiano de Statonal, Stiano de our heart. Now we need the leadership to bring us together. Queen. I respectfully ask for your support and your vote. Good day.
Miguel Sami, she's Hessen. Robin Chimatsti, as we close, what are your final remarks to the people of EU INUSG, and why should we place our trust in you and vote for you as our next Deputy Grand Chief?
Miigwets ganisten we den sevenot kadadesk at gan say late speech gen the against muge yamiabi mag the live stream at iog. Okay, one of the things niga as a person, like I've done community service all my life. Shne jabchi smart for our people. Nanaku, youth, elders, culture, communications, health, shenanaku jidabatchen. And it really trained me to be diverse and then I realized that our communities are unique to one. Same, unique in our own way. This cannot make that uniqueness and to build programs, services from down up. So going to go in the community, you cannot make that support like it at a regional level. This cannot make it the way we can grow our skills in our community. That is how we check it and do it to go to. And I mean to go on to stoic genome nanot. We always we their government. Dabatsiane, Deputy Grand Chief. I work for you guys. Joe squeet monoton and deep milk. You guys are the ones that are going to make the decisions. I mean then how does this cannot make how to support existing work with other organizations. Cree Health Board, Cree School Board, and all the other organizations in our communities. Is we check it and they continue all their work. I don't know everything, but I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to hear you, and this is make a solution together. Share from my heart doon. And everything I do to work for the interest of the people. And I hope you guys got to know me through my campaign. Because I printed everything. I handmade the pins I gave out. Everything was done by me. And that was most important thing about me for my campaign was to see who I am. And to close it off, every day is a new beginning. Let's make a difference together. Every day I went skike new beginning to try something new together. Support me Deputy Grand Chief Diane. Ni Robin Gall Saganash. I'm gonna vote Robin Gall Saganash for Deputy Grand Chief.
Miigwech, Robin. Miigwech, Sammy Saul Blacksmith, Robin Gall Sagnash, Lyndon Spencer, John Henry Wapache for your time for this Q&A. Give my guy all the best to you for the result of who's going to be our next Deputy Grand Chief. Jewich Tiag is ketuko ayo is migots online voting kumbuyo ek Wednesday apsuche kudoshabet the discussion 2:00 nish spuit eguche pegnugo yo online voting election day in person only Thursday July 17 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Big stories which is it's about this nisost. Msejin skumpnan kabet sidubiak danjin jiut kadado Nis kage de live stream gagnopt ko. Nis today ke yemuyabits. Chigat dai uste hai 8,000 views. Chitao zwenji and nugget stado yo uhe live stream. Thank you very much and good night and Valdor, again this je talionano go you the votes. So again min this outside the back of start goods. Skumno, wajak se chemendo bits training ball.